Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Ask a Scientist Gaming, where we combine mediocre gameplay with expert science. I'm Ken Hansen, Associate Professor in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry at Florida State University. I am a light chemist, which means I shine light on molecules and materials, and then I track where that light energy goes, whether it be electrons for generating photocurrent in solar cells, or bending molecules, or doing chemical reactions, whatever it might be. But more importantly, joining me today is Dr. Marty Swanbrow Becker. Marty, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. Hi, Marty Swanbrow Becker. I am an associate professor in the College of Education in the Department of Educational Psychology and Learning Systems. I'm a counseling psychologist by training, and I teach doctoral students in the program. My research is focused on college student mental health. Traditionally, it was around trying to figure out how to help prevent suicides on college campuses. More recently, it's expanded to how can we increase well-being and connection for college students.
And what do you typically teach? What classes?
Oh, I've taught a lot of classes in our department. I teach in our clinic. We have a mental health clinic in the College of Education, the Human Services Center. And there we train doctoral students to be psychologists. We have people coming in from on campus and also the community as clients. I also teach an evidence-based counseling class where we explore advanced psychological theories and the evidence around it to help the students be able to provide evidence-based treatments to their clients. I teach psychological assessment. So we do some fun assessments like Rorschach and TAT, projective testing. And we also learn about some objective testings like the MMPI and some more traditional tests that way.
That's fun. We should get back to that at some point. But equally important, what game are we starting with?
All right, we're going to start with Zelda. I was playing a lot of Breath of the Wild, and then my son talked me and my wife into getting the new game, Tears of the Kingdom. I haven't really played it. He's been playing it, but we're going to start kind of from the beginning. There was a little intro where Link and Zelda went into the underneath of the castle, and they meet this monster that basically zaps Zelda away and leaves Link lying kind of half-dressed and defenseless.
Having to save the princess again. Mario syndrome. Princess is another castle. All right, let's do it. Let's dive right in. And anyone in the audience, if the volume's too loud or too quiet, let me know. We're feeding the Switch directly into our capture card. So, Marty, you have a unique record on this stream. You're the only person to play a truly new game on Ask a Scientist Gaming.
I discovered that, and this game, I think, just came out within the month.
Less than 2 weeks ago, actually, which is remarkable. Usually we play 30, 35-year-old games, but no, today we are playing a new one, ladies and gentlemen. So you are still on Ask a Scientist Gaming, but a little bit higher resolution, a little bit, but it'll still be mediocre gameplay. Don't worry.
Mediocre gameplay. I played the other version for a while. So Link lost his arm, and this is a mechanical arm when that creature attacked.
In the intro?
In the intro, yeah.
Wow.
So in the intro, he had the Master Sword, and then it
cut it off.
cut it off and decayed the sword.
They went Star Wars with it.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know
fun.
we can do much with that sword.
That's pretty fun. Yeah, I looked at so the last Zelda game I played was Zelda 2 for the NES. So I'm not in the newer realm, but I see enough of it on like Twitch and Reddit, the gaming subreddit. One of my favorite factoids about this game is the first person to beat it was within like 2 hours of the release. So like they just committed, and so the world record was set. It was at 1 hour and 34 minutes almost immediately. So yeah, they just marched through. I'm a big fan of speedrunning, just like beating games as fast as you can. But to do that on the first playthrough without knowing the mechanics, knowing the fights, knowing all that is
and just
remarkable.
Figuring it out.
Yeah, really quickly. But I guess this is close enough to Breath of the Wild that it's not that weird.
Yeah, I think the controls are the same, feels like. Yeah, and it was a good intro. We skipped the intro today. It was a good 20 minutes.
Yeah. Figure you guys want to see the gameplay on stream, so we'll stick with this.
Exactly. And I think later we'll play some older games.
Yeah.
And take it back a little bit.
Yeah, whenever you get tired of playing this, we can move on to another one. If you think of any you want to play, I can probably dig up most of them. Nintendo is pretty easy. Codemaster, welcome back to the stream. It's great to have you on, or have you visiting us. Yeah. The upwarp ability is too broken. I don't know what an upwarp is. Do you know what that is?
I don't know what that is.
Because Breath of the Wild, they came up with some amazing glitches where you can shoot yourself across the screen. And
oh, really?
yeah, so one of the reasons I really like speedrunning, if you're not familiar, it's beating the game as fast as you can. But what they do is they find ways to glitch like cutscenes so they don't go, or they find a way to fly faster than you usually can. And it's through just scientific method, right? It's like I experiment until I see something weird. What caused that? How do I control it? It's a great exercise.
Wow. And then do they collaborate, or it's a race?
Yeah, it's a very, well, you do race, but the communities are usually pretty collaborative, where it's like you share the new tech and new ideas and you show on YouTube clips how to do it, and they just compete and get faster and faster. And so this game, there's been a new world record every day since release.
Oh, to beat it?
Yep. And so I think the fastest time right now is 1 hour and 9 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah, they're flying.
It's going to take me 1 hour and 9 seconds to get through this.
Just to get a shirt on.
Exactly.
Codemaster said they changed all the abilities, e.g. magnesis and stasis, to new ones.
Oh, great. Yeah, those were some cool abilities.
Yeah. Oh, that's fun. But yeah, playing a new game.
And I think I can see some ability, some weapons.
All right. So you've had some time to settle in. Obviously, you can relax and play as we talk, but so you're in a unique position on this stream. Like we're playing video games, we're drinking alcohol, we're hanging out, but like you research some very heavy topics, right? Like you work in suicide prevention and stress management and relationship building in college and all these things. And so, I mean, so for us tonight, there's going to be this balance between, you know, somber and like funny comedic gameplay while drinking. Like, how do you balance that professionally? Like at conferences, is it just a sullen ambiance, or do people make jokes while talking? How do you?
We don't make a lot. We don't make a lot of jokes while talking.
Yeah.
One of the conferences that I go to with my students is the American Association of Suicidology, where we have suicidologists, people who are experts in the study of the phenomenon of people thinking about suicide, attempting, completing, helping people who are suffering the loss of someone who's died by suicide. And when we go to those conferences, it can be somber, but it's also helpful because you often have researchers and actually people who have lost someone or have experienced suicidal thoughts or attempts themselves, and it reminds you that this is real and it's important, and that it's helping people figure out how to cope in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that I always find empowering in the research, and it reminds me why I do it.
Yeah, I mean, you're a real practitioner. You're training people that will intervene and like make a difference with people's lives, which is, I mean, that's a heavy responsibility as well, right? I mean, you feel the stress of that.
Yeah, and part of the training that we give our doctoral students is how to intervene with people who are having thoughts of distress or thoughts of suicide. And we see that in our clinic. They see that on their practicum sites. And so it feels empowering as a profession to be able to work with such great students and help them then go out and make big differences in the world as well.
No, that makes sense.
And I found myself up on this cliff. I don't know where to go.
Just exploring.
Yeah, just exploring. I wonder.
My favorite part is at any moment you could find the fastest glitch in this game. Just warp to the end accidentally. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. So,
all right, so with the somberness versus the humor in mind, I will do my best to keep it professional, but also casual. Because we're hanging out and playing video games, but also talking about some heavy subjects. So, but if you guys have questions, throw them in chat. Codemaster wants to know, what is your opinion about suicide prevention bots? Do you think they're effective? And I've seen several stories recently where like Chat GPT saved someone's life, and then another one where it led to someone killing themselves. Like, what's the community and you think about that?
Yeah, it's a tricky question. I am generally skeptical of getting the human piece and the human reaction out of it. The stakes are high, and the nuances are touchy. And I know there are a lot of programs that kind of walk you through things. I think if it's a kind of thing that it's a screener that kind of guides you through, are you thinking this? Are you experiencing this? And then it refers you to someone,
Right person.
to a person, then I think that can be helpful, especially as people are
Well, that's
existing
fun.
more.
Screenshot that. Ready?
Oh yeah.
Smile, look at the
cool.
camera. That's a much better screenshot. I like that. Let's do that. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, all good.
I mean, so that's intriguing. Is there research into, like, there's computer-based text communication, there's audio communication via phone, there's video via Zoom, and then in person. Is there a degree of effectiveness difference between those, and has that been studied?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think I don't know the effectiveness of the different mediums, but I do think it's important to meet people where they are. And so if someone's online and they're gaming and that's their community and that's their social world, then that's where we need to be.
Yeah.
And so for instance, Facebook has a part of their programming. If they see certain keywords, they'll flash up
the
a warning
helplines
or helpline.
Yeah.
I think that's good. I think if there's no harm in that, and if people are expressing things online, that it's helpful to give them the resources. But when it's a bot that's controlling the therapy and kind of giving them advice, I get skeptical of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's an intriguing proposition, not just in psychology and counseling, but medical profession as well as teaching. I saw a study recently where they liked the response of the AI chatbot more, and it was primarily because it spent a lot more time with them, right? Versus a practitioner, right? That can't necessarily spend as much time. And so even if they're not as right, but it was also a text-based thing. And I don't know if the people knew or not, or like, I'm sure there's a lot of placebic, is it a person or not a person? I don't know. It's intriguing.
Okay. Yeah. And I think we have now text lines, like national helplines that you can call, but there are also lines where you can text back and forth. And I think some people were skeptical of that at first, but I think they're finding some really good results. And some people feel more comfortable with not talking, but doing the texting. It's enough of a barrier, because talking about your feelings in that way is vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it's hard for people sometimes to go ask for help and to talk to someone. So for some, talking to a friend or family member is the way to go. But for others, talking to a stranger can be helpful.
I mean, so one of the things you teach the evidence-based practices class, and so like in the suicide prevention realm, like where do your data sets come from in terms of studying that, like success rates in terms of those communications? Is it self-reported or is it follow-ups? Like how do people know?
Well, that's a good question. In my world, we study generally the experience. So a lot of my research is around trying to figure out why people are going from sort of stress to distress to suicidal thoughts. How come some people experience stress and they kind of can deal with it, or they go through a period that's stressful, but then they kind of pop out of it, while others don't really do that, and they go down, they develop thoughts of suicide, and some people kind of stop there, but then some people develop more intense thoughts of suicide after that. So a lot of our research is around survey trying to understand their experiences. But we conducted a cool study at Florida State University a couple years ago where we wanted to see how effective our suicide prevention trainings were. One of the things that we do at Florida State is train resident assistants in suicide prevention.
Oh, wow.
They are in the the world of freshmen.
Yeah, they're the first responders.
Yeah, they're the ones that they're not like friends, but they might be more in a position, more than a professor would be, or someone else. And what was happening is from my experience, we would have suicide prevention trainings, and people would say, "Oh, great training! I learned a lot, and that was helpful." But then I'd walk away thinking, "Well, but are they going to do anything with it?
Yeah.
Was it effective?" So we trained half of the resident assistants on campus in suicide prevention training, and we gave the other half training on mindfulness. And we separated them by residence halls to try to sort of isolate the effects. And what we found, it was really interesting, when we ran a survey of them, we found that there were no differences in people who got trained in suicide prevention versus not. Neither intervened more. Neither felt more confident or comfortable. But when we had focus groups where we asked people to just sit and talk with us from those different groups, very different experiences. The ones who'd been trained in suicide prevention, it might have been a bit of a selection effect, because the people who agreed to the focus groups might have been more interested in the topic. But they were talking about how helpful the training was, how it helped them really understand what to look for and how to intervene, and that they did intervene with people. People who were in the mindfulness group said statements like, "Well, I don't think you even could train someone on suicide prevention. It's too hard, or it's not our job, or it's not our role." So that led me to realize, from a scientific approach, it really depends how you ask the question, what kind of answers you get.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, is there any concern on that front? Like, they're not formally trained. I mean, these trainings are great. They help them out, but also they can't do what a psychologist is trained to do and practice to do for years. I mean, I guess they don't have a choice if they're the ones that are dealing with it firsthand.
Well, I think you do want to be careful of the role and what you're asking people to do. I mean, resident assistants are also college students, and they're they haven't signed up to be psychologists or counselors. So one of the models that we use is it's called QPR: question, persuade, and refer. And so we train them what to look for, how to have a conversation about distress or suicidal thoughts. One of the things we were finding is that even though people knew what to say, they were nervous to say it. They didn't want to, they were worried that, I'm worried that they're thinking about suicide, but if I say it, maybe they weren't thinking about it, but I'll put the idea in their head, or I'll offend them, and then they won't want to talk to me anymore. And so there were sort of some of those barriers. So that's been some of our research also, is understanding like what holds you back, but also having clear roles in the training to make sure that we're not asking them to do things that aren't appropriate.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure. I mean, do you have the statistics off the top of your head, like the likelihood of suicide for students living in the dorm? It's like 1 per 1,000, or?
So, well, that's a good question. We have some of the stats for like how many students think about suicide in their lifetime, how many think about it each year, how many seriously think about it. So again, it depends kind of how you ask the question. In terms of thinking about it, seriously considering it each year, it's about 6% seriously consider it. I think about 18% think about it on some level. Much less attempt. I'm not sure if these are totally current numbers, but maybe 1% attempts.
Wow.
For the age group and for college students, suicide is thought to be the second leading cause of death behind accidents and injuries.
Wow.
So outside of accidents and injuries, that's how a lot of students, not a lot of students, but as a percentage, lose their life. One of the things that I think we also kind of know and are learning is that suicidal thoughts ebb and flow. And so usually people don't have them all the time. They have them and then they lighten up. So anything that we can do to give people time to have someone intervene or do something else or distract themselves are helpful. So, as a lot of campuses or states debate, should we have guns on campus, for instance? Should we allow that? The issue with guns is that it's so deadly. If someone...
Oh, we got combat.
We've got combat, and I've got my broken sword. Who is this guy?
Fighting a garbage can.
What do I have? Oh, a tree branch. I don't know.
Let's fight with the tree branch. Is it better than your rusty sword? Give him tetanus.
Oh, I got him.
Nice. Your first kill on Zelda.
Oh, a Zona charge.
Congratulations.
Uses the power sword.
Merits a GG.
Nice. And a soldier construct horn. Oops.
So this game, the one I played a lot, like the RPG games, was World of Warcraft. This one has things like fishing, right? Does it have?
Yeah,
You do like leatherworking and stuff like that? Is that?
Yeah, I was watching my son play. He's really good at this game, and there was something you can do. You can meld two things together, or fuse two things together.
Yeah.
And he was creating weapons out of different materials.
That's pretty fun.
So, yeah, that was good. I should have him playing.
No worries.
Yeah, so cool game. It's kind of like Breath of the Wild. A little bit different.
Yeah, they kept, I guess they kept some portions of the map the same or something like that, but they moved things around. I didn't get the entirety of it, but
Oh, yeah.
stylistically, I mean, go with what works, right? Like,
And it was a little unclear from the movie what I'm trying to do. I guess we're trying to find Zelda
yeah.
and defeat this really wicked looking creature.
I like it. Oh, man.
To maybe not jump from there.
So what happens if you die in this game? It spawns you back on a save point?
Yeah, I think it spawns you back. And I think when I get a shield, you can do like shield surfing. There's some cool.
Yeah, and there's like parasailing too.
Oh yeah, well there was definitely that in the other game, Breath of the Wild.
That's fun. All right, so one of our predictions is actually related to our question, what path took you where you are today? So I'm going to throw that prediction up. Anyone that's in the audience. This is the one about your when you decided to become a psychology professor. All right, so anyone that's joining Ask a Scientist Gaming for the first time, we mediocre gameplay expert science. We talk about science throughout. We answer your questions in chat. We also use predictions, and usually in Twitch, predictions are to predict outcomes in games. We don't typically do that. We instead predict answers to science-related questions or questions about our guests. So they send me a list of questions before we end up before we do the stream, and so. If you're not following us, click the follow button at the bottom of your screen. That'll give you 300 standard internet units, and you can use those to gamble on this 2-option question. Those points aren't worth anything outside of the stream, so you can make us take a drink, you can request a factoid, but they are useless beyond that, beyond increasing your pride when you answer many of them correctly. So you're going to be competing against your contemporaries in the audience. So we're going to put up a prediction right now. At the top of your chat, you can see a predict button. Click that button. And the question is, when did Marty decide to be a psychology professor? Was it before college or after college when he decided to become? Or during or after? So before college or during/after? When did Marty say, I'm going to be a psychology professor? And this is a really nice segue to our, what journey brought you to where you are today.
Great.
So yeah, go ahead and throw your predictions. Again, this is entirely pride-based. I don't think you're going to find the answer to this on Google or ChatGPT, so feel free to cheat. I don't think you're going to get this answer. Usually we have a spiel about honor code and not cheating on the answer, but I don't know. Is your son going to be watching?
Maybe. We're not really pushing against bedtime.
Yeah.
He might be out there.
I'll be curious if he knows the answer to this one.
He might know.
And these are hard because nobody is going to know this. This is pretty much roll
my
the
daughter
dice.
would be there too. She would definitely know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys have a prediction, throw the prediction in chat. Click the follow button, get your internet points. You can make us drink alcohol, which is part of the fun of the evening. So go ahead and put your answers in there.
All right. And at some point, we'll ask what this steward construct thing has to say.
Let's do it.
Princess Zelda left something.
Did you just murder a thing that looks a lot like that thing?
I thought it was going to get me. A pad. All right, it's going to provide us with direction. It's the new Sheikah slate. In the last one, it was a slate.
Yeah, no, now it's a Switch.
Yeah.
the Zelda World Switch. Mm-hmm. Way to go, Nintendo. Plug your own brand. That's pretty amazing. All right, poll is closing. Marty, what is the answer? You decided on psychology professor before college or during/after?
Way after.
All right, so the answer is false. So you...
How'd they do? Or did anyone?
No one guessed on this one.
All right.
I mean, it's fair. There's no way they could have known that, whether they want to gamble their points or not. But so I guess that's the question. So clearly before college, you weren't thinking I'm going to be a psychology professor playing Zelda while answering questions on suicide prevention. Mm-hmm. What was your journey from 6-year-old Marty to where you are today? What were the key moments that shifted your expertise?
A long journey. And part of that journey is what made me want to be a psychologist. It was a hard journey to figure it out, and I think the help I got along the way with mentors and counselors helped me want to do that for other people and become a counselor. It started, I guess, in college. I was studying finance and thought I would maybe go out and do sort of a business world, make a lot of money, but didn't find that motivating. And so getting out of college, wanted to find something else. And I went to law school then and had a good experience there. I enjoyed the study of it, but then kind of getting out of law school, realizing wasn't really a thoughtful decision going into it and realizing it wasn't quite my place. So it was a bit of wandering through different jobs until I finally got some work working with special needs kids in a school system. And for one of the first times in my life, I really found that I loved it and enjoyed the work. There was a holiday, and they called me to say, "Hey, don't come in today because it's a holiday." And I found myself upset that I couldn't go into work, and I never had that experience before.
Yeah.
And I thought, maybe I'm onto something. And so then that led to gaining experience in a psych hospital, working with teenagers who happened to be suicidal, and that's where some of the interest in suicide research came from. Seeing teenagers come into the hospital. Seeing the stigma that the world puts on them, that maybe there's something wrong with them, but when I really worked with them, learning that they had help getting to where they were. There was an environment that was really challenging for them, and they were doing their best to cope with it, and that I wanted to help them. And it was actually really engaging working in the hospital, but they kept coming back. We would help stabilize teenagers with suicidal thoughts. We'd have them so they weren't having those thoughts and calm. And then a month later, they'd be back because we're sending them back into the environment. And that's when I think the prevention aspect came in. And I thought, well, what could I do to help them not get here in the first place? And then I had a good friend who was a psychology professor, and he seemed to really like it, and I learned a little bit about it through him. And then I tried to apply to PhD programs, and then I realized, I need research and some background in psychology, which I did, an academic background, which I didn't have. So I took a year to engage in research at a local university and take some classes, and then applied, and I got into the University of Texas at Austin.
Oh, nice.
With a great advisor. His name's Dave Drum, and he had been the director of the counseling center and was really engaged in college student mental health, and took me on as one of his students, and I loved it.
That's awesome. And you just kept with it?
And kept with it. Yeah.
We'll keep going.
All right. Okay, so I got this I got this slate. Records indicate that Princess Zelda is waiting at the location marked on its map. Message has been delivered. We stand in the Garden of Time. Ooh.
Cinematics.
Yes, this is like a movie. The Temple of Time is visible from here. Many rites and ceremonies of the kingdom were held there. Okay. Now it's a lonely place. No one visits. But Zelda's there. Find Princess Zelda.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, and you have a map. You have an indicator. All right.
Head to location. Take care as you do. Okay.
I do like the way Nintendo, like, they design their games such that your progression is a tutorial. Like, they ramp up and they give you notifications when new skills and things like that are available, which is pretty cool.
Well, it's been a while since I played the other version, so I was worried I would forget the controls, but I like how they give it to you as you go.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you mentioned it, I missed it. What was your bachelor's degree in?
Oh, I had a bachelor's degree in finance.
Finance, okay. And then you applied for law school, took the LSAT.
Took the LSATs.
And you spent how much time in law school?
3 years.
3 years. That's a non-trivial chunk.
It was a non-trivial chunk.
Oh, God, especially the loans you had to take.
Yeah. I mean, I think I had a sense after the first... I had a sense when I got there, maybe this was not exactly what I thought it was going to be.
And you tried to stick it out for 2 more years.
Yeah, well, like you said, with the loans, once you start...
Sunk cost fallacy.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. There's the sunk cost, and is that the guy I just met?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's okay. Yeah, so I stuck it out and kept going, and I'm glad I did. I met some great people there, great friends.
Yeah.
Learned a way of thinking that
I was going to say, did you take any of that with you? Like, in retrospect, that was like a key to the way you think about the world now.
Yeah, I think it gave me a way to sort of organize my thoughts, a way to listen to other people, understand their point of view, and then come back to it from a place of logic. And I use that in counseling. If I do therapy with a client, those skills, I'm not like debating with them, but I'm trying to put myself in their place, really understand where they are as in their experience, kind of enter their world enough so I understand them, but not so much that I get drawn in too much. And then think about how to help them. And I think the legal training helps with that kind of the clarity of thought that comes with it.
I was very intrigued when I learned that. There's a non-trivial chunk of science majors like chemistry and whatnot that go to law school. And typically it's like patent law and things like that. But I was shocked to learn like the LSAT it's a lot of logic problems. Like it's a lot of just like, how do you think if A, then B kind of sequential thinking. And like, there's a lot of different types of people that get into law school, whether it's, a political science major, history major, or even a chemistry major. And it's just, it's a way of thinking rather than like memorizing something.
Yeah. And I think that was valuable for sure.
So what do the apples get you in this? Is that
So
health?
those you can eat them
Okay.
and then get some health from it, which I probably should do. So if I go to inventory, apple, eat, and then my hearts go up.
Wait, what do the mushrooms do? Are those health? Or do those have you?
Those, yeah. Let's see. Those. Oh, I could eat it. Yeah, and it would give me a 1/4 point of health. You'll see that at the bottom.
I see.
I think I can also cook them.
Oh,
with things.
select a recipe. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You can make something new.
Let's see.
Speaking of mushrooms, so you talked about, people recurrences of suicidal like what's the recidivism rate on somebody, like if they're in the same environment? Is it high? Is it
Oh, that they would.
yeah, they'd go back to the same tendency, the same.
Whoa, that's into shallow water too.
Clean dive, Link. Way to go.
Yeah. Oh, I like it. I like in this game where you can catch the fish. I don't know if they'll let me get them, but well, unfortunately, it's high unless something happens to treat or some experience happens that would pull them out. One of the biggest predictors of suicide attempts is a past attempt. People who kind of have done it before are thought to be more vulnerable to it. One of the theories comes from a researcher at Florida State University, Dr. Joyner, who talks about how a sense of perceived burdensomeness and a lack of belonging creates the thoughts about suicide, but we still have this protectiveness. It's hard to hurt yourself. It's hard. People, even if they want to end pain in their life, it's hard to harm your body, and so it has to be acquired over time, and that we do things that wear down our sort of natural defense to it. And so repetitive attempts at suicide start to wear down our natural defense to hurting ourselves.
I mean, so there's a bunch of research, I know, at least in depression, right? Using things like hallucinogenic mushrooms and LSD and things like that to reset serotonin. I mean, is that studied in the realm of suicide? Is that something you can break a cycle chemically?
There's, I think, some good research coming out, psilocybin research, to use that to help with depression.
Oh no, your tree branch broke.
I got to get a better weapon here. Oh wait, is that a stick?
Did they give you stats on these weapons? Another stick.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, did I get another stick? I don't know if they give you. Oh yeah, the 4 I think is how strong it is.
Oh, that's the
versus
damage.
A 2.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
I think that's the damage.
Huh.
Yeah. And then I got caught up and I lost your question.
So sorry, the chemical intervention in terms of either LSD or psilocybins or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I think there's some important research coming out in that area, and I think that different people need different things. I think for some people therapy is really effective, and for other people it's not as effective, and we don't necessarily totally know why. But we do know that some people respond better to it. Others would maybe respond better to that. Having an experience where they can see the world differently and shift their perspective. The question is that enduring? And will that last beyond the immediate effects? And I'm hopeful that it is. And there are studies happening that are trying to figure that out.
Oh man, I apologize. So they have different subcategories from which you stream from, and I was accidentally had us under science fiction classics rather than science and technology. My mistake. So anyone joining us from science fiction classics, Zelda counts.
Could talk about it. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of science fiction.
I'm a big fan. I've been rereading the Foundation trilogy, Isaac Asimov.
Yeah.
And it's a great story. And thinking about how long ago he wrote and some of how his predictions come true.
He was brilliant. I mean, the laws of robotics, and he won the American Chemical Society has a science communication award, and he won it for chemists just from, his foresight into future and what he saw, which is kind of fun.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a bit surprising, but yeah.
He had won an award, I'm forgetting what it was, but it was like best fiction novel ever, and went up against Lord of the Rings and beat it in that award.
That's pretty amazing.
Which is pretty amazing.
Are you a fan of Dune?
Yes. Yeah.
The new movie, you saw the trailer?
I saw it.
I'm excited. The worms, they did presumably you saw the 90s version of that with, oh man.
Yeah.
I'm going to say they raised the bar with this one.
Was that the one with Sting?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was great.
All of you should go watch it if you haven't.
Yes.
It's pretty amazing. But yeah, the new one, I'm excited for the new movie. Dune is just a fun world,
Oh yeah. And the that sort of the underdogs of the people living on the planet, and how the conquerors don't even know how many there are of them, and how they're living and where they're living, and the sort of people are kind of thinking that they've got control of the situation in terms of the conquerors, but they really don't.
Yeah. I mean, that's a tale as old as time, right? That's a Vietnam War.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry I'm late. RL sucks. What is RL?
RL. Right, left?
I don't know. Your Night Turret, thank you for joining us. First time chat. I'm assuming it's one of your friends and or family. So thank you for joining us on stream. Click the follow button if you're not following. It helps us in terms of visibility and whatnot. But also thank you for joining us. And if you have questions for Marty, he's happy to answer them. He's an expert in evidence-based counseling, in studying and understanding and intervening for suicide prevention and things like that. E. Doyle says, hi, Dr. SB.
Ah, hello.
SB, that's how you sign it? That's how you shorten it?
Yeah, that's how we shorten it. Years ago, one of our students just kind of said it, because Swanbrow Becker is a lot.
Yeah.
And it just kind of went from there.
No, that's fun.
Originally, my wife's name was Swanbrow, her maiden name, and my name was Becker. Mm-hmm. And when we got married, we combined them. Interestingly, I think, well, in Texas, we got married in Texas, and there, at that time anyway, I'm not sure if it's still true, women could get their name changed as part of the marriage license process. Men could not. So I had to go to court to get a court order to change my name. And so we were trying to decide hyphen or no hyphen, and so we decided no hyphen. And then, so I did no hyphen with the court order. And then she went to the marriage license place to get her name. And they said, oh, you can only have a hyphen here unless you go to the court and get it changed for no hyphen. And so what had cost me $300 in a day in court now cost her another $300 in a day in court just to get the hyphen out of her name so it would match.
So did you guys ever think about combining? Like
we thought
Swanecker versus Beckbrow.
Swan. Oh yeah, we had some funny names. We had Swanbeak at one point.
Oh, that's fun. You could.
Yeah, generally the Swan was a softer start.
That's true. Swanecker.
Her name is actually really interesting. It comes from her ancestors are from England and goes way back, I think, to the 1400s or so.
Oh.
So we really didn't want to lose that name.
That's fair.
For our kids. And I was excited to take it on as well. But when like ordering pizza, it's a little easier to say Becker, just to make it happen.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
But anyway, one of the students at one point just said
SB.
SB, and then it just kept
I was
going.
gonna say that's how you sign the board.
Yeah, and now I do it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what some of my kids' friends call them, SB. Yeah.
That's pretty fun. All right, going back to your night's comment, RL means real life. So thank you for that. They said, I'm Marty's DM. God, the
Kenny.
Dungeon Master? What is DM in this case?
So we play, I play Dungeons and Dragons
that's
with some
fun.
friends on occasion. And he is the best DM.
That's awesome. That's a lot of responsibility.
It's a lot of responsibility.
Speaking of which, have you seen the new Dungeons and Dragons movie?
Yes.
Oh my God. They capture it.
I thought it was really good.
Like, people are upset. It's not realistic. I'm like, no. Have you ever played D&D?
It's pretty good.
Like random object that does weird stuff. You roll the dice. Sometimes it works.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
that was really fun.
Really liked it.
Yeah, I think they did a great job with it. I hope there's a sequel because they could build such a world out of that.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of creatures and characters and storylines, it's infinite in that world. So, your night, thank you for joining us. If you have questions for Marty, feel free to ask them. Yeah, we're talking about a lot of things throughout the evening, no doubt, but also playing Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Brand new game out 12 or so days ago. Giant.
Yeah.
So you got a new weapon too.
Oh, I got a new weapon. Some those creatures struck me. It's better hitting them without the. At first, we were just using sticks to try to conquer.
Broke a stick on a robot.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot of fun. All right. So, speaking of movies, one of the favorite questions I like to ask, because I've seen a lot of them, is what movie gets your discipline right and what gets it wrong? For example, I've heard a rumor, at least from several people, that like in law school, they show My Cousin Vinny as a good example of courtroom like procedure and things like that.
Oh, that it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's also horrible examples like Law and Order and whatnot. Yeah. So in terms of your discipline, I mean, your educational psychology, suicide prevention, or just suicide in general, who gets it right, who gets it wrong? I mean, one that comes to mind that was controversial recently was the I think it was Netflix, the 13 Reasons Why.
Oh, yeah.
That was an uproar, and I don't know the facts behind that, but
yeah. Well, with 13 Reasons Why, I think it was the first season of it. One of the issues with that and with media reporting is that you want to tell people truth, and you want to let people know what's happening, and you want to do it in a way that's also supportive and respectful. And so sometimes with media reporting, we report about the facts and the details, and then for someone who's having troubles with suicidal thoughts, that can be really triggering to them. And so you have to balance, I think, how to let people know what's happening versus not triggering people. So like how much detail is enough.
And that's pretty well documented, right? If there's a famous suicide, the frequency goes up, right? Yep. That's a known thing.
That's a known thing. And one of the times that got broken was when Kurt Cobain died. His girlfriend was Courtney Love, who came out and was like, don't do it. And she kind of countered a lot of that by being outspoken, and I think that kind of quieted things down. But with others,
but like that was seen in the statistics. Like there should have been a spike, and she plateaued that with how
Yeah.
Is she given credit for that? Like I guess your community would know that.
Our community. Yeah. No, some people know it. Yeah. But with others, you see a famous person die by suicide, and then others spike. With 13 Reasons Why, one of the things that was problematic was, one, there was no real warning about it, and so kids could be watching it.
I see.
Whoever could be watching it. And at the end, when the person, not to give a spoiler,
sorry.
Spoiler alert, but at the end, when the person dies by their suicide, it's portrayed as kind of this peaceful thing where the person sort of just drifts off, and it makes it look like she was in a lot of pain and now she's in a better place, kind of.
Yeah. And so they glamorized it.
Kind of glamorized it, or at least made it seem like not a terrible thing, maybe. And so they got a lot of press around that. And then the next time I watched the show, they had a warning
I see.
that said, "Hey, this is this is graphic, and if you need help, here's information about the Suicide Prevention Lifeline number you can call nationally to get help if you're having thoughts of suicide." So at least providing the resources.
So was there a spike? Was there a notable response?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's outside your expertise. I wouldn't expect you to know that. Off
Yeah, I don't know the stats, but I know there was a big uproar about it, and to their credit, the show responded with what felt like an appropriate disclaimer to at least let people know what was happening and give them resources if they need help.
I mean, it's one of those things too. I guess you can't predict ahead of time because that might have been helpful, or it might have been harmful, and you don't necessarily know, right?
Right.
That's intriguing.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the one I interjected. What are the other like good, bad?
Gosh, well, my family just watched What About Bob, that Bill Murray show.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so funny. I think that kind of gets it right in terms, I mean, it's a comedy, so it's not meant to totally get it right.
Yeah.
But they kind of get it right with the kind of the neuroses of the psychologist. I guess that was a psychiatrist, but
Yeah.
Still, how they kind of overthink and, he's working with his kids and he has these puppets and these ways of talking.
Yeah.
And I know that my kids are often, my daughter in particular is always like, "Dad,
don't pull your psychology bullshit on me."
Yeah. If she's upset, I'll be like, maybe should we take a deep breath? And she's right. I mean, it's like, it's like,
do you have a persona change when you get into that though? Like, do you go from dad mode to counselor mode? I
try not to.
Yeah.
I try not to. It's the running joke in my house is that I'm actually a terrible listener at home. I like to think that's because I listen all day and then that like gets worn down.
It's my favorite because it's like the best mechanic in town drives a shitty car kind of thing.
Yes. The
the
shoemaker's kids have holes in their shoe.
Yeah. All right. But what about Bob? That captured,
I thought that captured the neuroses pretty well.
Of the psychologist.
Yeah.
But in terms of Bill Murray's character, is that an accepted...
Oh, as a client?
Yeah.
I think that's maybe a little extreme. Yeah. I used to really enjoy In Treatment. That was, I thought, a pretty good show from a couple years ago, where they would
In Treatment
have
on HBO.
Pretty compelling. Oh yeah, HBO. Yep. And they had a couple seasons of it. Ooh, lured in by the delicious smells.
In Treatment. That's fun. So that's one you'd recommend. Is there one that just like gets it wrong? You watch it and you're just shaking your head for how damaging it is to either your profession or perception of people with suicidal tendencies or emotional issues?
Yeah, one that really gets it wrong. When I watch them, I do notice like, oh, they're using cognitive behavioral therapy, or they're, using
the tools,
tool or this or that tool, and often it's sort of simplified, kind of basic.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But is it simplified to the point of damaging? I mean, like, so you mentioned things like the Rorschach test. Now, like, is that accepted? That's a effective means of evaluating?
Well, there's some debate. There's debate in the field about it, and people tend to either really like it or really hate it. One of the challenges with evidence-based therapy and trying to figure out, like, all right, I want you to prove that this is going to work, is that some of the theories aren't easily tested. if you have medication, you
Yeah.
could make a million pills that are exactly the same
And
give them to
control
people,
experiments.
and you can
Yeah,
control it.
placebos. Yep.
But to do sort of person-centered therapy where I build a relationship with you and then I enter your world and understand you and connect with you, that's going to be dependent on each individual and some of the training, but also the fit. Really hard to control for that. And so the Rorschach's based on psychoanalytic theory, so Freudian theory of the subconscious, and the idea is that you're presented with a vague stimuli that's not easily, it doesn't mean anything actually.
Yeah.
And you have to say what it is. And so since it's not a clear thing that it is, your unconscious kind of gets kicked in, and that communicates what you see in it.
That's interesting. So it's like a writing prompt, but for dialogue, and like it's just like
yeah, it's like a writing prompt like that.
You're on a beach. How do you feel?
Yeah. And I've been trained in it, and I've used it in clinical settings. And one thing that is nice about that is that people can't, unless you really know how it works, you can't fake it. You might try to give a response that you think is benign or bad.
It's two people hugging. It's fine.
It's two people hugging. It's fine. It's like, ooh, they see two people hugging. And it could really go either way. So that's one of the really valuable things about that. But it also makes it a bit hard to empirically test it.
Yeah, because it's so open-ended. Yeah.
And so
that makes sense.
You kind of fall back a little bit on well, it's been working for years and people find it valuable, and in clinical settings it informs treatment, and it moves people forward in a way that other tests can't.
I mean, if nothing else, it might start a dialogue, right? And like sometimes that's enough, right? Like, I mean, it might not be an assessment, but I mean, that's intriguing.
And I think for assessments, you can have a battery of them. You can have different ones. So maybe you have something that's more standardized as part of it. And then this might give you a little bit more information about what's maybe below the surface. So, but I think some of that goes to the theory of the counselor and whether they think that's important. People who use, for instance, cognitive behavioral therapy aren't as usually concerned about what's beneath the conscious.
I see.
Their focus is on what are the thoughts, what are the feelings, what's happening right now. And the kind of childhood stuff might give context, and it might be important to provide motivation to understand why I am how I am. But the treatment is in what are the thoughts you're having, and how does that translate to core beliefs that you have about yourself, and how do we shift those? Yeah,
no, that makes sense.
All right,
let's keep grinding.
I
mean, the intriguing part for me, like I'm a chemist, right? I deal with molecules, and molecules don't have opinions. They just do what they're gonna do, right? But like the stuff you do, I mean, you have to rely on, applying a methodology, but also the person has to trust you. They have to buy in. Like the complexity of it is just astounding. I mean, does that ever feel overwhelming? Do you just fight the good fight and hope you're doing the right actions? Like for me, it's too cognitively messy. Like I'm like, is what I'm doing something right?
Yeah.
How do you cope with that blurriness?
Well, that's, I think, why I like some of the work that I do with my students on campus, where we work with, for instance, undergraduate studies at FSU we speak with them and say, what issues are you seeing? What are you finding that students are experiencing? And one of the things that we found was that it used to be that when students would leave the university, it tended to be financial. They couldn't afford it, or they didn't have the grades to pursue to keep going. But more and more noticing that people were saying on their exit interviews, I just don't feel I belong here.
That's brutal.
And realizing that there was a shift happening, and that was before COVID. And then I think with COVID, that really kicked a lot of that up as people lost some skills in how to connect. A lot of professors saying that before COVID, people used to come up before class and stay after class and talk more, and now it can be harder. Not always, but it's almost like students don't know how to ask for help now.
Yeah.
And maybe it was part of that time.
Because they couldn't. Yeah, that's brutal.
All right, so I'm going to I'm going to create some recipe here. I'm going to, let's see, add that, and then let's add this. Okay, and then let's return to the game. And let's,
And this is a kind of see what happens.
yeah, drop it. Oh, wait. So I'm trying to cook it. All right, so we're going to select for recipe. Okay, good, okay.
If anyone has advice, we do accept taxi drivers on
Yeah.
this channel.
All right, so we're going to return to the game. Oh, that's where it drops. Oh, I see. And let's drop it there and see. Is that good?
I have no idea.
Oh, toasty mushroom. I think I got it.
You lit a mushroom on fire.
I think I would, yeah. I suspect if I had left it a little long. Oh, so now I have 2 toasty mushrooms.
Oh, look at that.
All right, so we got raw meat.
Who needs a pot? We'll just cook them raw in the fire.
Select for recipe. It won't let me do it.
I suppose you have to obtain recipes. All right, I'm going to grab another one. Do you want to try the other?
Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to do that.
Right.
Raw meat.
So tonight when I asked earlier when I asked Marty what he wanted to drink, he said he's on a sour beer kick.
Yes, I can thank my Dungeons and Dragons friends for that. They introduced me to it.
That's awesome. Your night, thank you for that. How long has this kick been going on?
Oh gosh. Pre-COVID.
Oh wow, it's been a long time.
Classify time that way, but
Yeah. How long has your
years.
drinking problem been going on?
when they first, they were the first to sort of introduce it, and I was like, oh, I don't think I like this.
Yeah.
But over time, have really grown
So they're
to
actual
appreciate it.
connoisseurs. I'll be curious what they think about what we're drinking.
They are
So
definitely
every time I have a guest on, I send them an email saying, "What do you want to drink? This isn't a nicety. I really want to know what you want to drink." And we have a range of things. And usually they send me something like Marty did, where it's like, "I want a sour beer." So I go to Google and say, top 10 sour beers, and just find one in our local place. And so I came across 2. This is the Distill Wild Sour, and this is the Dragon Fruit Mango, which has a very strong dragon fruit bite to it. And then the other one is Dogfish Head, this Sequench Ale, which is green, so we're getting green screen effect, which is kind of fun. But yeah, both sour beers. Yeah, it's making us
cool.
transparent.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, you are Knight. If you have strong opinions, we'd love to hear them. This dragon fruit, this was almost too much fruity bite for me. It's pretty aggressive on that front.
Yeah, it was pretty fruity. I did like it.
Yeah, it had the sour. It did capture that one. Oh,
Almost. Wow.
oh! Did it just say your stick is damaged? Is that what it said? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you repair in this game?
I don't think so. No. Well, how's the timing? Should we stay on this game or?
Oh, it is totally up to you. Whatever you want to do. Yeah, we're an hour in. So anyone just joining us, our guest today is Dr. Marty S.B. Swanbrow Becker. He's an expert. He's in the educational psychology department at FSU. It's educational psychology and
Learning systems.
But yeah, he studies things like suicide prevention and belonging in college and evidence-based practices and interventions. And you train people that actually do these interventions. And so you're a practitioner as well as a teacher, which is pretty amazing.
Yep, and we have a clinic in our college where we see college students and also people in the community where our doctoral students who are training to be psychologists gain experience and provide great work and great services to the community.
That's interesting. So how does that, if somebody reaches out and they contact and they schedule an appointment and you have someone supervising, or it's I suppose
Yeah, so
initial?
we have Me and one of my colleagues, Dr. Deborah Ebner, also supervises in the clinic. And we have advanced doctoral students who help supervise other students. We have a system set up where we can watch the sessions behind mirrors or through video. And so we watch the sessions and help the students learn like what they're doing well, what they could improve on, and also to provide great care for the community.
I mean, so I'm curious, this is a learning exercise. They're doing this sometimes for the first time. You've seen a spectrum of response. Like some people are just really, really good and some people are terrible. Do you have like a horror story without divulging details? Just like someone that didn't get it, but like...
Yeah, none of our students, I mean, all of our students are really dedicated to this field. So I would say they're not, no one's in the terrible range. They are all very good. And we also screen for appropriate clients. So if it's someone's first time doing therapy, we wouldn't give them a really complicated case. So we match who you are and what you need. So if you're coming in and it's sort of, I'm not really sure I'm happy with my major and I just want to kind of talk through issues, that's kind of one level.
I see.
And if you're coming in, hey, I'm seeing things that aren't there and I'm hearing things that aren't there, then we wouldn't even take that. We would refer that person out into the community. So that's a big piece of it, is making sure it's an appropriate mix. Sometimes we get it wrong. Sometimes people come in and it seems pretty clear and then they start talking, and we had that happen one time. The person came in and started talking, and then the things they were saying grew increasingly bizarre until it was clear that they don't belong here. They need something more intense, and then we would refer them to a place like the Appalachia Center in town that could handle
I mean, do you cut it off or do you wait till the end of a session? Like, how do you do that?
Well, we always try to be therapeutic about it. So for instance, I would rarely go into a session that a student was having, even if I had a thought like, oh, that could be better or that could be a little different. I would generally wait till the end. The only time I would go in is if the person's expressing thoughts that they're a danger to themselves or someone else, and the student wasn't attending to that enough, then I might slow it down. But if they are attending to that and doing it, then there wouldn't be a need. So I try to generally take a hands-off approach and then go afterwards and process the experience.
I mean, presumably the likelihood they'd actually do harm in that scenario is probably low, right?
Well, and part of it is that we we ask people before they come in, are you having these kind of thoughts? What are your needs? What are you here seeking help for? And so if we get the sense that they need stronger support, then they never would have come in the first place. We would have helped them find a better fit.
That makes sense. You Are Knight, following up. This one's not on me. This is presumably the discussion on sour beers. I'm a total teetotaler. Well, tea and tequila and maybe some rum on occasion.
Nice.
When you would appreciate it 2 weeks ago, our guest Tanya Paris does not drink. She's an archaeologist, studies Native American dig sites and things like that. She doesn't drink, but she drank tea, so I went with Long Island iced tea, which was a mistake. I didn't know that had 6 different flavors of alcohol in it, but I can appreciate tea as well as tequila.
I have a memory of that from college. I think it may have been since then.
I've experienced a lot of different drinks on this stream. Tequila, Don Carr, who's a sociologist. She studies age-related things. She's like, we're drinking tequila. I'm like, all right.
Okay. I guess we are. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Well, I was excited to get the question of what we would be drinking today.
Yeah.
It was fun to be asked.
Yeah.
All right. So is this a friend or foe? Foe. Ooh. Foe with a stick. There we go.
And you got a new stick.
Nice.
So are you enjoying the game? Are you
Yeah,
getting
I
with
think
it?
so. I have to admit, I'm not sure. I guess I'm supposed to find Zelda.
Yeah, so you have that on the map.
Oh, yeah, and I haven't been doing a great job of
I mean,
tracking
yeah,
that.
the
But
hard part of this stream is you're talking and trying to focus, and
yeah,
it's not the best for gameplay, I'll be honest.
I am trying to keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
But it is hard to do that and talk at the same time.
Yeah,
At least I don't also have to tie my shoes.
but it is non-trivial, especially as it gets later in the night. Actually, that's not entirely true. The alcohol usually helps. I mean, it's like a relaxant, right? It's helps you get the inhibitions down a little bit, and maybe you're okay trying like weird games and gameplay.
Well, it's cool to get to engage in this. I've been learning more about the whole world of YouTubers and walking through games, and so it's pretty fun to be on this side of it.
Yeah, no, Twitch is it's a weird one. I'd say 90% of my guests have never seen Twitch before. And I'm like sending a cold email, drink alcohol, play video games, and talk on Twitch.
Yeah.
Like, what's a Twitch?
That's right.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think we met the first time it was the in-person, right? When David Collins had you out.
Yeah, it was First Friday, I think.
Yeah.
In Railroad Square, and that now feels like a long time ago.
Honestly, it probably was. It was probably, 9 months? Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Time flies.
Oh, maybe last summer. And since then, I went. My family and I went on sabbatical.
Oh, really?
So we've been in Boston. We were in Boston all fall.
That's
which
fun.
was such a great experience.
Is that just on leave, or did you do research, or?
I was working on research up there. The Temple of Time. I think this is where we're supposed to.
We got a shield. That's fun.
There we go.
Your stick is putting in some work. Like
The stick is actually
doing some
like
damage.
an old. I know I think in this game you can like do shield surfing. If you hit the buttons right.
That's fun.
Okay, left for the shield. Ooh, rusty
And a sword.
broadsword. All right.
5 damage. Nice. They got to make it rusty too.
Yeah. All right, so I've got too much stuff. I hate to drop one of my sticks, but I think I'm going to have to drop a stick. Let's just drop all the sticks. Oops. All right, let's pick up the broadsword. There we go.
Gives you a limited backpack.
So it looks like Zelda must be this way.
Or at least
Yeah, it's funny. I now remember that they told me to go follow this light. And I'm just wandering around.
I mean, again, we'll forgive you. It's tagline: mediocre gameplay.
Yeah.
Expert science.
Ooh. It doesn't want us to come in.
So now you have to get some other MacGuffin to get through.
The door will only open to those with sufficient power.
I'm sorry. I did not intend to startle you.
If somebody wants to hear the audio.
It was I that spoke to you earlier. That arm originally belonged to me. I am Raru.
Ooh, source of the right arm.
That's his title.
Yeah.
Source of the right arm.
Forgive me for appearing to you in this manner. Unfortunately, I no longer have a physical form. In any case, that arm should allow you to open this door. It seems to have lost the power to do so. You might be able to restore it, but you would need to enter a place filled with sacred light. Ah, of course. Why not visit the shrines on this island?
Ooh, the shrines.
The shrines. Yes, I am sure they are the key.
All right.
All right, so follow your next glowing dot. All right. Felicia Noel. Welcome to chat. Thank you for joining us. Felicia has something to say. Hey, Dr. SB. Clearly one of yours. It's cool to see awareness about topics related to psychology on other platforms like Twitch. How are you liking the tutorial so far? Tutorial as in gameplay? I don't know.
Oh, the tutorial in the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. It's helpful. It's hard to focus on the game and talk at the same time.
So for those of you guys not familiar, I invite guests over to talk science while playing video games, and it is a non-trivial challenge. Because you end up focusing on one or the other, and it's really hard to do both simultaneously. And so it's a fun exercise. But thank you all that just joined us, and those that are following. Avid Logistics 10, thank you for the follow. Minos Tally. Losing Tears, thank you for following. Presumably these are many of your people. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for the follows. It's for visibility. If you have questions, I mean, you are behind anonymous names, so feel free to ask Dr. SB anything you want, whether it's personal or professional. He can choose to answer however he wants, but tonight we are focusing on his expertise, which is, evidence-based counseling, suicide prevention, belonging in college. If you guys have questions or just want to know things, feel free to throw them in chat and we'll answer. Otherwise, we'll just keep playing some Zelda and I'll ask my questions because I have an endless supply of them.
And I'm going to work my way to the shrine, which is, I guess, up there.
Yeah, I'm sorry, everyone. My head is blocking the map right behind me. So.
Oh, there's the map. Yeah.
But presumably there's somewhere you need to go and get something so you can go through a door. Usually when you're killing something, you're on the right track, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, sounds like my daughter is not having a good time with bedtime right now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Bo. Pressing.
I forgot. I was going to have a follow-up. I mean, so you mentioned like the tendencies in college students right now, and they're feeling more disconnected than ever. I mean, is it the like we have this classic like kids these days scenario, right, where they're not like they used to be? I mean, is there a change in the kids, or is it the environment?
Yeah, that's actually one of the questions I'm really curious about, particularly with, we talk about COVID and the loss of learning that happened in those couple of years.
Yep.
And I'm really curious to understand whether that is temporary or more enduring. If we've entered a new way of being that is different, and that maybe we need to, particularly on college campuses, engage in skill building to help people understand how to connect or where to connect, the importance of it.
Well, one thing I'm really curious about, and we've talked about this in chemistry classrooms, like we have students that missed, high school chemistry in person, and then we're going to see them 3 years later, right? Or they missed the first years of college. But I mean, one thing I'm wondering about is this presumably is going to come in waves, right? If you experience COVID as a college student versus high school versus like my daughter was born into it. And so like when she's learning like language, she's looking at people with masks and not seeing lips move.
Right.
And so like, is it going to manifest in different ways as it progresses to the college level? I think the answer has to be yes, right?
I think so. I think so.
And is there active discussions on how to combat this, or it's just we don't understand it well enough to do that yet?
Oh, gosh. I think we don't fully understand it well enough. And I think that there was a sense that once we got back to in-person classes, that we would be back to how we were. And so, if campuses or college campuses are doing things like they used to, and just assuming students are the same, they may not be the same, and they may not be responding the same way. And so I think it's important to be studying how students are responding to attempts to connect and be part of the campus.
Man, can you ride that thing?
I
want to believe this is like a Tony Hawk Pro Skater,
like,
right? That's too long to not be useful.
Yeah, and it goes right over to where the but it feels.
You have to walk that seems precarious, right?
I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know. I mean, that felt okay for a minute.
I mean, is there a shield surfing? Can you, can you grind it maybe?
Yeah. Let's see. If anyone out there knows how this works.
Yeah.
No, it's not that.
We're looking at you.
Didn't mean to
Marty
do that.
needs help from his students that have played this game.
Yeah. If anyone, let's see, shield.
It's one of the Z buttons.
Oh, let's see. So I don't want that. Oh, shield. Yeah.
Oh, Avid Logistics has a fun one. Hey, Dr. SB and Dr. Hansen, what is your least and most favorite thing about being a faculty member? Well, let's start with what most or least. What do you want to go with first?
Either
Good or the
way.
bad?
Maybe the good.
All right. What's your most favorite?
My most favorite is definitely working with students. That's, I think, why I came to Florida State University. I remember when I was interviewing for the position, I met with faculty members and administration, and everyone was interviewing me. When I met with the students, they were drilling me in a way that the others really weren't. They wanted someone to come who was going to challenge them, work with them, help them become great psychologists. And I remember thinking, wow, I want to go to a place like that. And that the students are still like that. And that's what gets me motivated and to work every day.
Yeah, mine is tangentially related to that. It's watching the growth and development, like especially with grad students, right? They come in after their bachelor's degree and like now it's time to do real research, trying to like dive in, understanding controls, writing and things like that. And you see the progression, I mean, at least in chemistry. So we have a 5-year PhD program. In year 3, they start to like gain independence and start really thinking about problems. And then in year, typically 4 or 5, when they like legitimately challenge me in my ideas, like maybe I'm wrong. That is such a satisfying progression.
Oh, yeah.
Like just to see that.
And that's a good feeling when they challenge you and they're right.
when they're right. That's a good qualifier.
I like it.
All right, what's your least favorite?
Ooh, well, more and more I've been feeling like administrative burden. Just keeping track of all the rules and all the details of things can get hard.
Yep.
It feels like every year there's more rules and there's more sort of those kind of details to keep track of, and that's a little bit less fun for me.
Rush room.
Ooh.
So do you have to do IRB approval for your studies and things like
Yep.
that? Oh, so
Sure.
it's human experimentation. So that's another level of
And with the, if you're going to ask questions about distress, those are important to get right, because you want to make sure there are safeguards in place. And if someone says they're stressed or thinking of suicide, then it's important to be able to respond to them.
I'll echo. I guess I have 2 least favorite things. One is obviously the bureaucratic stuff, like keeping track of grant dollars and like submitting proposals that have all these nuance, and you need this page number and all sorts of rules. When I submit a proposal to the NSF, it's 15 pages of research and another 75 pages of other stuff.
Right.
And it's like that other stuff, it takes time, it takes effort, it's stuff that I don't necessarily want to be doing instead of research. The other one that's really hard, and this is related to the counseling, is the number of grad students, either my group or other groups, that have broken down in my office and just cried. And it's like, my wife would call me an emotional robot to some extent, because I don't have that, empathetic demeanor necessarily. And I don't know how to deal with that. And it's like, you talked about the what was it, QER? What was the referral?
Oh, QPR.
QPR, there we go. I should learn that. Like, faculty should get that training, because I don't know how to deal with that.
Well, one of the grants we secured a couple years ago was through the, it was a SAMHSA grant, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration. And we got the grant to study and to support faculty training on how to intervene with students in just area. And what we found was that most colleges across the university were really receptive to getting some training of what to do and how to, what do you say to a student that comes in? And we were aware that, it's one thing, like if a student comes to me and says, I have a problem, I have to be careful not to be their counselor, but I do also know where to refer them to because I work with it all the time. If they go to you're probably not as pulled to be their counselor, but still you need to be like kind of empathetic and nice and supportive and encouraging to go get help. And then do you follow up or do you not follow up? The answer is yes, you probably should follow up, but a lot of faculty felt that might be invading their privacy. And so getting some training around what should I do for this? Because I study a different area.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm not an expert and I have zero training in actually mentoring people, which is kind of crazy, but 100% true. I mean, the other part about that, so like that's the negative aspect of like intervening on personal things, but also like even running a research group, understanding, people respond differently to, positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement. And it's like, we just trial and error it and just make it up as we go. Cause what else do you do,
Yeah. Some of that, work, I think, not just because of the grant work, but at FSU we have a mental health team. That's a collaboration of people from across the campus who are interested in mental health work. And some of the work that came out of that, or at least related, was that on our syllabi we have resources now for mental health counseling, for the counseling center, for victims advocate. So making sure that people know is a way to let students know where to go.
Yeah, I mean, the other hard part too is, there's very little incentive for me to be good at doing that, other than my like own personal like mental health and well-being. But like the support network for us learning how to be those good mentors and how to follow through and things like that, it's just not. It's not there. I mean, we're working on it, but it's hard. We're there to get grant dollars and publish, right? That's the big thing.
Yeah.
So I have it. Thank you for the question. It's intriguing. I mean, despite working in different domains, we have similar positive and negative perceptions of what it is to be a faculty member. We need emotional robots too. Do we?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
We had a discussion earlier about ChatGPT and counseling via AI and things. So emotional robots. I hope my wife jumps in chat later after the kids are asleep. She'll have strong opinions.
Yeah. It's also fun to see students graduate and being there long enough that you see students come in and grow through the program and graduate. And even sometimes if they struggle, sometimes that's the most rewarding is when you see them overcome the struggles and grow and get their degree.
The contrast to that, the most frustrating ones are the students that are like competent and they're smart but they just don't want to put in work. They don't want to put in the time, and you're just like, you have these tools, use them, please.
Yeah.
That's hard because there's nothing you can do to make them do that.
No.
Right?
And they have to want to do it.
Yep. Yeah. And sometimes you try to figure out what dials or what project or what's going to inspire them, and sometimes the answer is you shouldn't have been in law school to begin with. Right?
Right. Like that wasn't a great fit.
Yeah.
And along those lines, one of the things that whoa, is that grab?
New skill.
Oh yeah, new skill. Oh,
Magic hand.
Let's see, grab, and then move up. Oh, order back. And lift it. How do I?
I don't know.
Oh, rotate. Hold R.
Ooh.
Oh, what was? Oh, I shifted my controller up and back.
I honestly did not know Switch controllers had tilt response. I've never had a game where it did. I play mostly Mario
Rotate.
Maker.
Oh, look at that.
All right, we're about an hour and a half in. Anyone just joining us, Ask Scientist Gaming, mediocre gameplay, expert science. My guest today is Marty Swanbrow Becker, who is an expert in educational psychology, studies things like suicide prevention or intervention with students, evidence-based practices, and counseling. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask Marty. And so going back to like this discussion about the like the Rorschach test and things like that, there are tests that are like thoroughly debunked, right? Like the personality tests and things like that. Are there
Like horoscope kind of tests?
Yeah, exactly. Are there are things that were accepted in the psychology community and now they're thoroughly debunked?
Yeah, I think so. I think one thing that happened many years ago, like in the 60s, for instance, there was a real emergence of experiential and experimental kind of psychology, and people were just trying all kinds of things. And then I think we realized that, let's see, how's that go? How do I select that? We realized that it wasn't always helpful, and that you could actually hurt people if you're not careful with what you're doing. And so the field has done, I think, a better job of regulating itself and saying, what is acceptable. Let's see, rotate. There we go. What's an acceptable kind of measure? And so, nope, that didn't work.
Just dropped in the hole.
It just dropped into the hole. So like, what's an acceptable? How are we going to assess whether these assessments are acceptable or not? And so now the requirements are higher. We want to see things that are normed on a population, that are tested, that have good reliability and validity, and we don't just let you kind of do whatever you want. And I think it was a matter of if the field didn't do it, if we didn't regulate ourselves, we were going to get more regulated by others.
So what was there a particular event that brought about that transition, or just a change in community awareness?
I think a change in awareness.
Okay.
I've heard stories of, they used to have like group therapy outings, and then the therapist would sort of commingle with clients in inappropriate ways, perhaps, and nobody thought anything of it. And that was the 60s, so that was a different kind of time. But realizing that maybe people have trauma, and those clients can't really be consenting to that. Those kind of relationships, and that we need to be careful about that.
Is it bad to tie it back to What About Bob?
a little bit with What About Bob? Yeah. Oh my gosh! And his family grew to really love.
Yeah, that was the best part. He turned into the villain through his own actions.
Yeah. Yeah. It was so good. Oh, here we go. All right. Well, what if I put this down like?
I was gonna say, does this have like floating, or is it weight based?
There we go. How about that?
Is it gonna domino? Oh,
all right. So if I can do that on the other side, then I could climb up, maybe.
oh, that's fun.
Let's see.
All right. So speaking of like new interventions and like changes in paradigms, like one of our others. So you don't necessarily do experiments, and maybe it's not moral in this landscape to do. I guess you acquire data and whatnot, but if you had unlimited budget and no moral qualms, what would you like to do? What study would you like to undergo? And the moral qualms one is a gray area. You don't have to necessarily answer that, but like, is there a question where human experimentation would give you an answer? Is there a data set that you could acquire that would just open the field up, regardless of moral circumstance?
Yeah, well, I think one of the big questions, we kind of hit it earlier, is why do some people experience distress and cope with it? Others experience distress and have suicidal thoughts, but doesn't go much past that.
Yeah.
And others have suicidal thoughts, attempts, and some die by suicide. And I think it's a big question for our field of how we are going to how to figure that out. And there are so many variables. I think that's part of the issue, is you need like a supercomputer to track gazillions of people and understand their life experiences and social connections and coping, and there is work being done on that, but even those models are not perfect yet. But I think I would do just a huge study of people's experiences with major computing power and the brilliant minds to try to figure out what's.
I mean, so what would that look like practically? Like you do a questionnaire for 1 million people and make sure you pay them to answer it, or?
Right.
Yeah, that would be the big one.
Pay them to answer it. Maybe track them. You follow them for many years also.
Yeah.
To see kind of what their experiences are over time.
OpenSet, welcome back to the stream. OpenSet is an educational streamer. You guys should check out his stream. There's a link. OpenSet, welcome back. It's always a pleasure to have you. If I'm not mistaken, you were a math/science teacher and do some microscopy on the side, which is kind of fun. But yeah, another educational streamer. It's always a pleasure when you join us. Today, our guest is Marty Swanbrow Becker. Educational psychology professor at Florida State University. Talks a lot about suicide prevention and thinks about things like that, as well as working with people on campus, helping college students cope with college, because college turns out to be pretty hard. OpenSet, calculus teacher and microscope hobbyist. OpenSet, in 2 weeks, we have a mathematician on. Our first mathematician guest is going to be on stream. Wow, you did something interesting there.
Will it work?
Physics be damned. Let's see how this goes.
Will it work? Oh, come on.
Let's see. There we go. Edward White, a recently minted PhD who does mathematical analysis, geometric measure theory, potential theory, and rise potentials, and thinks about the Thomas problem. I look forward to learning what all those things mean.
Yes, I would like to know that.
It's a fun journey every 2 weeks. I get to learn a new. Oh, they're connected now.
Did I merge them? Or?
And OpenSet, we're struggling with Zelda, Marty's first playthrough, which is a challenge.
Yeah, we're almost got maybe something.
We should throw up another one of these predictions. Which one do you want?
No. Me?
Yep. This one's intriguing. That's worth a discussion point.
Sure.
If you're okay with that, I'll go with that one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to put a prediction up. If you're not following us, click the follow button, get your 300 standard internet units. You can use them to bet on how confident you are on this answer. And so I'm going to put it up. We're going to do a 2-minute window. And so the question here is you have counseling psychologists and you have clinical psychologists. And the question is, are they licensed to do essentially the same work? Like in terms of their, I guess, certification process when they get their licensing. Are they licensed to do the same work, or do they do very different things? This is the difference between counseling psychologists and clinical psychologists. And note, you are on Ask a Scientist Gaming Honor Code. You can't look this up on Google or ChatGPT. I guess look up ChatGPT. It has like a 40% success rate, but it's curious. In terms of clinical psychologists versus counseling psychologists, are they licensed to address the same problems? Are they addressed to do the same work? Is that true or is that false? Which is Intriguing. And again, this is, I honestly didn't piece together this was a differentiation, but in retrospect, it makes sense.
And if any of my students are still there, they better know it.
This will be on your final.
Yeah, it'll be on the final exam. Is that possible? Okay. All right, we're at a bit of a crossroads here. It might be, not that I'm a person who gives up, but...
Yeah. I mean, we're an hour and a half in. If you want to try something else, note, you remember I mentioned the game NARC?
Uh-huh.
We closed the night playing NARC, so at about 10:30. So you have about 50 minutes left to play whatever you want to play.
All right. Well, maybe this would be a good time, because... yeah. Oh, see if I could switch that. That would work, but... I don't know.
No worries.
Yeah, maybe we'll switch it up.
We'll call it there. All right. What do you want to go with next?
All right.
We got Donkey Kong, Super Mario Brothers, Archon. Archon?
We could do a little Archon.
Let's do that.
That's a fun game if people haven't seen it.
All right. We're going to change it up, ladies and gentlemen. We played too much modern games on this stream. We've reached our quota. Now it is time to go back to old school.
My brother and my friends and I used to play this all the time when we were kids.
Yeah. All right, so explain this game to the audience. It's kind of like chess, but it's not chess.
It's kind of like Wizard's chess. You have light and dark sides, which have chess pieces. What would be pawns have certain abilities. They use swords, and then the different pieces as they go up to what would be the king and queen have stronger abilities. Basically, if you land on your opponent's spot, you get teleported to a battlefield, and then you battle it out, and whoever wins the fight keeps the spot.
So it's energy and skill-based combat, which is kind of fun.
And so the pawns can be a king or queen, although it's very hard to do that. I have to admit, I don't quite remember how to win. If you have to kill, you might have to kill everything, get rid of everything.
It's worth a try.
Yeah.
I like it. I honestly had never heard of this game, which is unusual. I know a lot of, there's like 350 of them on the shelf behind you. I don't know if I own this one or not. I should actually check. I'm going to take a look.
All right, let's see. All right, so we'll do one player. I'll pick light side because I'm kind of that. And we'll let dark go first.
Oh. There it is.
Oh, you have it.
I do own this game. This is a recent purchase, actually.
Wow.
It was on my recently purchased pile. There it is. So fun factoid about Ken. I give talks at various different universities, like I visit different places, and I usually try to get there a little bit early so I can visit a retro video game store. Because like a lot of these stores, they have, 20 Nintendo games, and I own 19 of them. But once in a while, you come across a new one that you don't own. But I haven't played this one yet, so it is time. All right, counseling psychology versus clinical psychology are licensed to do the same thing. Everyone said false. What is the answer, Marty?
It's true. They can do the same work.
It's crazy. So there's no difference in the...
The difference is generally in the preference and what the training that they get might be different. So if someone decides to work with the Veterans Administration, it might be hard to get a job if you haven't done your training in that kind of area. Or if you want to work at a university counseling center, but you've never had any experiences there, it might be hard to then convince them that that's what you want to do. But they both have a license in the state of Florida, psychologists. They can be university professors, researchers, clinicians, same.
That's intriguing.
License.
I mean, so it's like the difference between resume and licensure. In terms of license, they have... Oh, wow.
Oh,
just wrecked.
I guess he took me down.
Open set question. Is it a difference in can versus should here? I mean, presumably some are more qualified than others to do certain circumstances.
Yes, yeah. So if you, for instance, haven't really gotten your training to do certain work, then you shouldn't be doing it. Is right. But can get trained in similar places. I was at I had practicum sites where I was with other clinical psych students in the same site, learning the same things.
So how does this licensing work? After you get your psychology degree, you have to take a test, and that's when you're licensed?
Yeah, it's a long process. So you get your degree. We also have an internship process. Ooh, got it.
Correct.
So you complete your coursework, you complete a dissertation, you also have a 1-year internship, and then you are eligible for licensure, and you have to take the EPPP, which is EPPP hard exam, and then you also have to acquire postdoctoral hours of about, so you need to acquire about 2,000 hours after you've gotten your doctorate and pass the EPPP and pass a state laws and rules exam.
And
So
then, do you have to renew that, or it's indefinite?
Yeah, and then you renew it every couple of years with continuing education.
So is there like a bar type scenario where you can get disbarred or lose your licensure based on action?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Misconduct.
Yeah. And so you get reported and someone evaluates and decides.
Yeah. Yeah, you could get reported. They'd evaluate, decide. We spend a lot of time in our program talking about ethics and the rules around that. Let's see. I used to be really good at this game.
Well, you can find a version of this in browser if you so choose. So there's a... Oh, look at that. So there's a speed run of this game. NES Cardinality, who's actually a really famous speedrunner, has the world record at 6 minutes and 1 second.
Oh, this game?
Yep. An army victory, whatever that means. There's a PowerPoints victory. There is a army victory. I don't know what these different categories are. That's pretty fun.
Oh, so their king just sent a fire elemental to kill
Like the
me.
king can get them to do their work.
Oh, which...
Ooh, Avid Logics, logistics.
yeah.
Dr. SB, which test was harder for you, the EPPP or the LSAT? LSAT is the law school entrance. EPP is the psychology certification. Is that the...
Yeah, the EPPP, they call it the EPPP, is the National Psychology Exam. Good question. The LSAT I took right after law school, and the EPPP I took about 6 years after I graduated. I spent time working to get tenure, so I wasn't focused on that.
I see.
So it had been a long time since I had been in school, so that made that really hard. The LSAT was a couple days, if I remember, but I think the LSAT was easier. Yeah, the LSAT was easier. I went to I took classes to prep for it, and even though it was a couple days, I knew what I was. I knew what I was talking about on the EPPP too. But for some reason, that was a harder test. It hits many areas that are detailed: biology, theory, testing, ethics. There was a lot that was that they were covering. So
I mean, so LSAT, you get a score, and that weighs in your admissions process. The EPPP, that's pass fail.
Oh, LSAT. I was thinking the licensure, the bar exam is what I was thinking about. So the LSAT was definitely not as hard as the EPPP. Yeah, the EPPP was harder.
So LSAT or the bar, you still EPPP is the
EPPP was harder. Yeah.
Wow, that's intriguing.
I thought maybe because I had waited 6 years after I graduated to take it. I also took it during COVID. And so when I went to the testing site, I had a mask and a face shield on. It was it was 2020.
Yeah.
So actually that was almost 7 years after I graduated. So it was a long time. 2020, and that made it uncomfortable because I as I started to get nervous, like, am I answering these questions right? I can't breathe because of the mask.
You were homeschooling your kids at that time?
Yeah, we're like homeschooling.
It was just all of it. Oh my God. That is brutal. But it's a pass fail. Like you just have to get above a certain score.
You have to get, I think it was 70%, which seems like that's not that high, but it felt high.
I mean, but those any so I do a bit of testing theory, particularly in chemistry, and like the best assessments, the outcomes should be an average of 60 to 55 to 65%, and they like target that with like the GRE and the LSAT and things like that. So 70%, that's probably what, like a 15% fail or 15% pass or something like that. Do you know what the pass rate is on that?
It might be that, yeah. Oh, well, no, the pass rate's pretty high, actually. The pass rate, most people do pass it, partly because they have been in training for it for years.
Yeah.
And it's specialized. Terrible. I used to be so good at this game.
No worries. Well, next time you're on stream, I will have expected you to have started speedrunning this game.
Yeah.
Learn the ins and outs.
I have to get this somehow, somewhere.
Man. Counseling versus clinical psychologist.
Tough game, and I thought this was going to be one I was going to dominate.
Are there difficulty levels? I didn't even see it.
I don't think so.
It's just all or nothing. I mean, what's intriguing about this is I'm sure there's like different pairings that work in your favor and different strategies that if you just know them.
Yeah. Yes. And maybe some characters that you're better with. Yeah, so some of them create this fire that destroys the creatures, and others are more shooting.
All right, a few of our other favorite canned questions. I'm curious if you have an answer to this. What's your favorite equation? How often do you work with equations, and if so, what's your favorite?
We don't work with a lot of equations. So I guess my favorite equation would be E equals MC squared, I think. That's not really in my field. Yeah, in general, that's a cool equation.
So simple, but
very, so simple and really transformed so much. I was reading about Einstein a little bit ago and just marveling at how much he did in such a short time. His sort of miracle year of 2005, I think, or 1905, came out with just amazing revolution.
Photoelectric effect, something on Brownian motion plus the relativity. He also proposed lasers at some point near that period. Like, it's just no,
and stood on the shoulders of others, but helped us see that theories like Newton's theories were insufficient, that had been untouchable until then.
I mean, I guess that brings up another question. Like when you do data processing, I mean, you were talking about big data sets and doing like machine learning and AI and trying to do like maybe learning algorithms or big data sets. Well, how do you guys process data? I mean, you just graph and hope to see trends. How do you?
Yeah, it depends on the study. Sometimes we do path analysis to understand how different variables are relating. Often we're doing mediation or moderation effects to see. So for instance, we might want to see, you would expect that someone in distress would become, someone who reports having more stress would experience more mental health issues. And so that would be maybe a direct effect. And so we want to see, well, what happens if they are more socially connected? Does that change the relationship between stress and mental health outcomes or academic outcomes? And in what way? Does it have a direct healing effect? Like, oh, now that you have friends that and you have stressors, it distracts you and you feel better? Or is it that you have stressors, and because you have friends, they refer you to help, and so you can get help that way? So it could be sort of a direct effect or an indirect effect that you're getting. So some of it is trying to figure out those nuances and how demographics or intervention variables are impacting.
And so that's interpreted qualitatively on a case-by-case basis, or like you try to graph those two variables and see if there's...
Could be either. Yeah,
Okay.
we run qualitative studies where we do interviews, focus groups or interviews, and we do a thematic content analysis where we understand what the general variables are that people, or the general impressions that people are having. We run quantitative studies where we run the stats.
That guy is devastating with the club.
With the club.
Just
And I've got a
pops
sword
up and-
too, but it's
No.
No good.
Club wins.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Those are like pawns? I don't know what those are.
the unicorn's solid, but he shoots, I think, missiles from his horn.
As unicorns do.
Yeah, yeah, as they tend to do.
That's really fun. I mean, so speaking of correlations, is there I guess this is my little request to factoid, is there a correlation that you've come across in your career, whether it be suicide prevention or something else, that you were just like shocked that it existed? Like just something that causally you wouldn't think they're tied.
I don't know about shock, but we ran a study a couple years ago where we were asking students about their stress, sense of belonging, feeling of connectedness, and we asked other things like the socioeconomic status of their family. And one thing that we found that was surprising to me, it makes sense now, but was surprising at the time, was students who were at the higher socioeconomic status of their family reported feeling connected, more connected than others. And also students at the lower socioeconomic levels also reported feeling decently connected. And it was the students in the middle who reported the lowest levels of connection. And what we thought about was how at our university we have programming that supports students,
low income and-
low
yeah,
income or first
yeah.
generation students who might come from lower income communities or families. And so there are natural, there's sort of programs that we've implemented that are maybe actually working to help people come and get connected.
Yeah.
People who have more resources tend to maybe naturally be connected or find ways to get connected, but it's the middle group that maybe gets lost.
That's intriguing.
And needs help too, as everybody does. And so
so that's an intervention gap that you have like recognized as being a thing that should probably be addressed. That is intriguing.
Yep. So that was surprising and helpful to know that kind of, it's not that you don't do any of the other things, but that's just room to sort of expand programs. And I think that's part of the interesting nature of the work is wanting to expand the programming, but needing to know in which direction, how to do it, or how to do it efficiently, because there also aren't unlimited resources.
Yeah.
And so how do you help more people? Ooh, the elemental against the sword. I'm gonna get him.
I don't even know where the hitboxes are on this. So like, are you close
Oh,
enough?
which one am I? Oh, it was like,
Nice.
oh, I think I did it.
Yeah. I love the combat in this.
Yeah.
Everyone should try this game. Download here. I'll search for an emulator.
It's a good. Oh yeah, the stone golem He's big and slow, but super powerful. Ah. There we go. It's coming back.
There we go. I found an emulator in case anyone's interested in trying this game. There it is. Marty, you too. If you want to play this in browser, you can play it.
Okay.
Just search Archon NES emulator, and you will find a version that you can play in the comfort of your own home. OpenSet's question: what ages does the research primary focus on? I'm interested in if it frequently extends to grad students, med students, etc. What is your demographics?
Yeah, generally undergrad students, but we have had some studies with graduate students as well. Yeah, generally undergrads though.
I mean, if you had to make a blanket statement, and I won't hold you to this, like in terms of undergrad versus grad mental health, I mean, grad school, it's very clearly a problem, right? There's a lot of mental health. It's a very emotionally, mentally trying time. Is there a general trend?
Whether one or the other is...
Yeah, is there a higher risk population or...
Well, you would think in theory that by the time people get to graduate school, they have a lot of things that are in their favor. They've thought about their career, and they may be more settled that way.
Yeah.
They're a little older, so they've been through some of the harder transitional times. But there's a lot of stress and a lot of pressure in grad school, especially if you're not sure that that's what you want to do, then you find yourself in a tough spot. So for instance, if you came into our program and you wanted to be a counselor, but you had to write this big dissertation and you hated research and you didn't realize you hated research until you got in the program, that'd be really stressful for a grad student. So I think most of the time they maybe have things a little bit more stable in their lives, but not all of the time. I think the transitions are tough. One of the things I wish I had done when I was in college was utilize the Career Center. At FSU, we have a world-class Career Center, and it's a model for career centers around the world, really. And so...
and you'd say students are underutilizing that resource?
I think so. A lot of students use it, so I don't know that it's underutilized, but for any student who is experiencing any kind of doubts, or even it could be at any level. I don't know what major I should have at all, or I like my major, but I don't know how this translates into a job, or I like my major and I kind of know what job I want, but I'm not sure how to get there. Like, what do I do, an internship or part-time job? They can help with all of those kinds of questions. They help with interviewing skills.
Did that say goblin sound effect? Somebody got credit for the goblin sound effect?
I think so. I think so.
All right.
Well, the computer really tore me down on that.
You should do another one.
Yeah, or
it's up to you. What do you want to do?
Donkey Kong.
Mario?
Let's do Donkey Kong.
All right, we'll do Donkey Kong, ladies and gentlemen. Let me change our stream name.
We're going way back. When I think about how many hours I played with
arcade or
both. I think.
Okay, you did the quarter eater. All right, Gigi, thank you. Welcome to the stream, first time chat. Thank you for joining it. This is presumably one of yours, Dr. SB. What mental health / well-being tip other than therapy do you think is most impactful? Meditate, sleep, social connection? I guess I'll piggyback on this question. If you could vocalize one thing so every, we'll say, college student could hear you and take it to heart, what would your sentence to the world be? No pressure.
In terms of what would be the most important thing?
Yeah, what would be the best for their
mental health?
Yep.
Sleep is so critical. Oh no. Sleep is so critical. Connection is critical. I think getting being able to monitor yourself also and know how you're doing, and when you need help and where to go is important. I think a lot of us don't, we figure, well, we'll just keep going, or it's normal.
Yeah. It'll get better.
It'll get better. And isn't everybody stressed? So, isn't everybody stressed? So we don't realize that it's a problem. I've had clients who have had thoughts of suicide, and I say, well, when we're talking about it, they say, well, doesn't everybody have thoughts of suicide?
That's true.
And I'm like, not everybody. More than maybe we'd like, but not everybody. And people don't realize, it's a fine line between, on the one hand, normalizing it, where it's, you're not the only one who has these thoughts, but also you don't have to live with these thoughts.
It's not normal.
Yeah.
That's intriguing. Oh, that was cozy.
Oh, I felt
a
little warm.
That was beautiful.
So I don't know if I quite answered that question.
Yeah, no, I mean, sleep, self-reflection, self-awareness, which, I mean, I guess is an acquired skill, non-trivial.
Yeah, and that self-awareness that says,
Nice.
what I need, that I need help, that I'm not okay.
Oh.
No. I was trying to be fancy and hit it and run back.
Oh, can you do that? Do you have to walk across? Or
Yeah, you can if you're like good at it.
Fair.
Yeah.
All right.
If you know what you're doing.
So Tanya played this last week, and I apologize to anyone that's a returning guest if I sound like a broken record. Have you seen the documentary called King of Kong: Fistful of Quarters?
No.
It is a documentary about people going for the world record in this game, and it is the most entertaining the most entertaining documentary I've ever seen. And it's like,
Cool.
The bad guys are bad, the good guys are good. You couldn't even write people as amazing as the characters are. And so it's I strongly recommend it. It's called King of Kong: Fistful of Quarters.
Okay.
And this is
And it's a movie?
yeah, it's a full-length movie, and it did really well actually in theaters. There you go.
Okay.
But it is just amazing. You have this character arc of like this just like really friendly, nice guy going for the record, and then you have this like cartoonishly bad guy trying to like inhibit him from getting the record. It's breathtakingly amazing.
Yeah.
But anyway.
There was a book about, I forget what it's called, about gameplay. Can't remember it, but I like those movies about video games.
Laszlo, yes, Billy Mitchell, the bad guy. He's actually, I'm not going to spoil the movie for you, but he's been since stripped of many of his records because they found out he cheated on some of them. Not necessarily the ones in the movie. As far as I know, some of those were legit, or his original ones were legit. But there's since been a lot of controversy, and he's taken people to court for like defamation and lost over and over again. So like when you talk about a bad guy character, he just meets all the criteria.
Yeah.
So Laz, if you haven't seen, King of Kong: Fistful of Quarters, and you know Billy Mitchell, you have to watch that movie. It's
I want to
absolutely
see it.
amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, chasing the world record in Donkey Kong. So,
Oh, yeah.
if the internet has taught me anything, it's don't judge anyone for their hobbies or what they want to get good at, because
No.
just do what makes you happy, right?
Yeah.
Like,
If you want to win Donkey Kong,
just do it.
just do it.
Like, make sure it doesn't ruin your life, though.
Yes, exactly.
A lot took place in Florida, too. Oh, man, Florida. You know, Florida.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Nice. I don't remember what the criteria for beating this game is, but
I think it just kind of keeps going.
yeah, I think there's a level cutoff. I should look up what speedrun.
There are at some point, if I remember, different screens that come into play.
Yeah. You can't. It has a kill screen. It does have a kill screen, but I think they have a like a threshold. Donkey Kong Arcade, Donkey Kong Arcade, Donkey Kong or NES. Okay, so there's a criteria on speedrun.com that says you should do one loop. I don't know what one loop means. I presumably you start repeating screens at some point. They call a threshold when it starts to repeat. So you can play it indefinitely, but I think they call it a victory once you beat through the loop at least once.
Okay. Because I think like some of these screens have been repeating, but I think you get new ones after a little bit.
Save the princess. So how long do you think it's going to take you to beat Zelda?
Ooh.
Like you're going to do it 10 minutes a night for the next 5 years.
It could take me years, yeah. I think I finally gave up. My son beat it.
Yeah.
Impressively. And I finally just went to watching him do it because...
I mean, do you play to completion or do you play just to get the main criteria done? Like, do you do all the missions? Or?
Yeah, I try to do all the missions and collect
forever.
all the treasure and everything. And that I had to stop. It was like too obsessive.
I mean, you have to look up the nuance of everything, right? Every detail, every...
Yeah.
Becomes time consuming. No, the good old days when you'd rent a game and play it nonstop for 48 hours. We don't get those time intervals anymore.
No, yeah, I used to play games with my brother and we'd stay up all night playing.
Yeah.
I think Lord of the Rings came out as a video game and we stayed, I remember we stayed until like 4 in the morning.
I mean, it's awesome that you're involved in your kids' gaming though. Because it's integrated into people's lives at this point. If you're not involved, you're sacrificing a relationship. Like, it's part of their life.
Exactly.
Until I challenge my kids to speedrun NARC, then it's going to all go down.
I know. And I can't always keep up with what he's playing. Like, he's really into Minecraft and Roblox, and it's hard to get on board when I'm used to these kind of games.
Yeah. It's a different... Because at some point, it's not even a game. It's just like a world building. It's a different experience, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of experiences, so we talked about knowledge bomb you drop on the entire world if they could hear you. What is your airplane conversation like? Like, you sit down next to someone and they're like, what do you do for a living? And they're like, you say educational psychology, you say, like, where does that conversation take you?
Yeah. If I say I'm a psychology professor, they think I work in the psychology department.
Yeah,
so
you can treat schizophrenia and whatnot.
Right, so I tend not to say that.
Yeah.
I usually say I'm a university professor, and I'm a psychologist. When you tell people you're a psychologist on the airplane, they stop talking, or they talk a lot.
Too much.
It can be either way.
Those are your only two options.
Yeah, it has definitely happened when people are like, "Oh, are you psychoanalyzing me?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just trying to."
You don't pay me enough. Sorry.
Yeah, I really am just trying to kind of chill until my the plane lands. So I think it's just repeating now, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. It says level 3.
All right, so it might almost be time for... we could do Mario.
Yeah, we have Mario. You still have 18 minutes before... We typically do a half hour from NARC. Sometimes it takes more, sometimes it takes less.
And I don't know if I know what NARC is.
No, you've probably never played it before. It's this terrible bargain bin game. It started out as a joke, and now everybody plays it.
Oh, sweet.
So heads up on that. We just closed the night with it. Are you good on drinks, or do you need another one?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay.
Actually, thank you.
Go with a casual Blue Moon. There's a strong bitter taste in my mouth right now from the sour beers.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Donkey Kong.
Open Set's invoking one of our. We kind of asked a derivative of this earlier. Has studying psychology ruined any movie, TV shows for you that poorly portrayed stuff related to the field? So you had a couple good examples. You were happy about What About Bob?
Yeah, I was happy about What About Bob. I thought that was funny.
And what was the other one? Not the interview.
In Treatment.
In Treatment. Yeah.
That was a great one. So sometimes it actually makes it better because I get what they're doing, and
you have insights that I wouldn't.
And if they do a good job.
That was beautiful.
Yeah. So I don't think it's ruined it. The thing that happens, like you said on the airplane, if I tell people I'm a psychologist and then they get all freaked out that I'm going to psychoanalyze them, which then, of course, leads me to psychoanalyze them. Yes. What are you so worried about?
Do you ever pretend to write notes when you're talking to them?
No.
Oh, that's very interesting.
That's very interesting, huh?
I'll look down for a good 10 seconds. But there's nothing you've seen that's that was terrible.
I'm trying to think,
just a cringeworthy
rendition of Too Far.
Oh, that was a speed strap though.
I was trying to set a record.
And I can't think of. I mean, so there's things like Good Will Hunting, right, where Robin Williams gets to play the psychologist.
Oh yeah.
But I guess that one's not too cringeworthy. One of my favorite YouTube series, I don't know who does this, but they essentially have experts on to just watch movie clips and break down whether they're right or wrong. Most of them are historian-based, The Patriot. How well does that capture the American Revolution?
One thing that did ruin a movie for me was when I was in Texas, they had a fun movie theater that would play, they would have people come and spoof movies, and they did that with The Matrix and Halloween, and I used to love both of those movies, but now I can't watch either one anymore because I notice how ridiculous they are.
This is the Austin theater? No, I think I know what you're talking about. It's a very famous theater. Yeah. But they also have musical versions of it and things like
It was a cool theater. Yeah, they would have good food there.
That's really cool.
Really interesting movies, and so they would spoof on the movies, and so they had Halloween, the horror movie, and it would be at the beginning of the movie, the sign says, in a small town in Indiana, and they have palm trees, and the cars, they zoom in on the cars, they have California license plates. So it's being filmed in Hollywood, and they're in a small town, and I'm oh.
I know too much.
Yeah, too much.
And that's pretty fun. So my wife and I were fans of musicals. When we lived in LA, we'd go to Vegas and go to musicals and stuff like that. And we take trips to New York occasionally. One of the surprise plays we saw was it was Silence of the Lambs, the musical.
The musical.
Yeah, the musical. And it's exactly what you'd think. They took Silence of the Lambs and turned it into a musical.
Wow.
And it was absurdly amazing.
Really? Good?
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I won't recount it, but Hannibal Lecter singing a song.
And can you find that on Amazon?
I don't know if there's a recording of it anywhere, but that seems like something the Alamo would host, right? That was the kind of...
And they would have these fun nights, B-movie nights, where you'd see these old horror movies that were just kind of ridiculous.
So Tallahassee, we used to have Bird's Aphrodisiac Shack. There's what is the name of it? It's in Railroad Square Park, the movie theater place. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yeah.
What are they called?
I can't remember.
Oh, I wish I could think of it. But the person that runs that used to host at Bird's Aphrodisiac Shack the first Saturday of every month, a trash cinema. And it would do the same thing. And we used to love it, but COVID killed that, and it hasn't come back yet. But that's as close as we got in the Tallahassee area. What is that called? Cap City Video Lounge.
Oh, yeah. was just my friends had a birthday party there recently.
Oh, that's fun. So they watch movies, and that's really cool. Yeah, if you guys haven't been there, Railroad Square, they moved their setup. Cap City Video Lounge. Here's their Facebook page. I guess they have events and things.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
so they rented out the back, and so we had the whole like screen to ourselves.
That's fun.
It was really good.
Wait, what did you guys watch?
Raising Arizona,
Nice.
which was good.
Yeah, that's a fun.
I hadn't seen that in a long time.
Did it hold up? I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah, it looks good.
There's some you go back like Revenge of the Nerds. Like, yeah, that's none of that is acceptable.
Yeah, I can't really
That's
see that anymore. Yeah.
bedroom move. Nice.
All right, a little time, Mario.
Yeah,
Maybe.
you might as well. All right, we're gonna switch to Super Mario Brothers, the 1985 classic. Do you want to guess what the world record speedrun time on this is?
Ooh, I don't even know what it means to complete the game.
So
Is there a completion? Like you get to the...
So there's 1-1. You go. There's 8 worlds with 4 levels each,
Okay.
and there's 2 warps, so you can beat the game in 8 levels actually.
45 minutes.
4 minutes and 55 seconds. Yes, that is the record. So this was the game that I first started speedrunning, actually. It was kind of a joke competition, but my record on this is 5 minutes and 2 seconds.
But you didn't have... They didn't have to collect all the coins.
No, they don't collect anything. They don't even get mushrooms. Like, you stay small the entire game.
And you just
Get to the end as quickly as possible.
Okay.
All right, we're about 2 hours and 20 minutes in. Ask a Scientist Gaming, mediocre gameplay, expert science. We're playing a little bit of Super Mario Brothers while talking with Marty Swanbrow Becker, who's a educational psychologist. He's very interested in counseling, particularly on the college level, college students coping with, the complexities of college, fitting in, belonging, also things like suicide prevention, suicide interventions. Speaking of which, I looked at your CV or your description, your bio. So American Psychological Association is like a suicide prevention chapter or section. What? You were president of that or the director of that?
I was the chair of the prevention section. So it is the Society for Counseling Psychology Society is a group within the American Psychological Association where we focus on the broader group is counseling psychologists. The prevention section are practitioners who are practitioners and researchers interested in the prevention aspects. How do we help people before they get to levels of crisis and distress? What can we do sort of downstream? And so I don't know if it was a funny story, but I wanted to become involved in that. And so I went to one of the meetings at a conference and I got to know the people and I said I want to get involved, and there was a role to be, I think I was treasurer maybe. And then I wanted to have more of a leadership because I was really enjoying it, and I wanted to be the vice chair to learn. And then it turned out that the person running for chair got a new job and was busy and couldn't do it, and so they asked if I would just be the chair. And I said, well, I could. I'm not sure I know exactly how to do it, but they were really kind and supported me in it and helped me learn what to do. So that was a great opportunity to get involved. We had actually a lot of student involvement in that section. Students who were interested in the field, and we would have poster sessions, so a lot of ways for students to disseminate their research. And
so sorry to interrupt. If you press B, you shoot a fireball.
Oh, nice.
Makes life a little easier. I mean, so your role in that is coordinating, organizing?
Yep. and organizing really the professionals in the field, and that was a fun role. Thinking about how to organize people who are licensed practitioners, and we would provide a newsletter with sort of current research, opportunities to get involved in the section. We would host talks and poster sessions for students and researchers at the conference, and really met some good people and good friends that I'm still friends with.
I mean, so that's interesting. You lived on a boundary. I mean, is there a disconnect between researchers or academics and practitioners? Or do they get along pretty well? Is there a divergence there, or one judges the other?
Ooh, that's a good question. I like to think that it's complementary, that we're all, especially in a field like suicide prevention, where we're really trying to
Genuinely do good stuff. Right?
Generally do good stuff, trying to help people in distress, and cope. So I think we tend to work together. There is some kind of feelings that are like at conferences, for instance. Is this a practitioner conference or a research conference? And people can feel that it should be one or the other.
Yeah.
And so some of that. I have always grown a lot from being at conferences and hearing practitioners and also people with lived experiences in these areas. It reminds me why I do the work and the importance of it.
I mean, so you're kind of uniquely positioned with a foot in both, right? I mean, how common is that?
Oh, a foot in both. Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that I think that really drew me to this field of counseling psychology, was that I could is that I could be both a researcher and a practitioner, and make an impact that way, that one informs the other. And our training model is a scientist practitioner model, where we train our students to be both practitioners and scientists, and that they are complementary. The graduate school training was particularly challenging, though, because I was learning to be a researcher and a clinician, and I had a graduate assistantship where I was teaching. And in my wife's program, she's a biologist. She graduated with a biology degree, and she would always comment that, the doctoral students in her programs and the master students would kind of do their research and go home, and they seem to have a lot more time because they could kind of do it and be done.
I mean, yours was like a pseudo PhD MD type experience where you have to do both, which is that's a lot.
Yeah. It felt like a lot, but I'm thankful for it now. Because now that once you get through it, you have all those skills and experiences that the world kind of opens up. So for people thinking about, do I want to go into psychology or some kind of helping field, one of the big questions is often, should I get a PhD or a master's degree? And if you really just want to do therapy, then maybe a PhD is kind of, I thought he had me.
That was cozy.
I thought he had me. Then maybe a master's degree will do it, because you can practice and see clients. Sometimes people feel like, I need to go get a PhD because that's sort of the terminal degree in the field, but not always. Whoa.
You found the warp world.
Is this the warp world?
Yep.
Is that good? Oh, I don't know.
That's the shortcut. So you can skip levels. So there's 8 levels total.
So I could go to level 2, 3, or 4.
Yep. You want to go to 4 if you want to go to the end as fast as possible. So you accidentally found the warp.
That was
So this is mandatory on the speed run. You have to go that way.
Have to go that way.
So
Nice.
kudos to you. You have 2 minutes left.
All right. 2 minutes.
No pressure.
I hate those things. Oh yeah, this definitely wrapped up to level 4. Huh?
Yeah.
Wow, the time goes fast.
Yeah, no, it really does. It's, I mean, we're playing video games during. Like, how bad can it be?
I know. Yeah. Well, that's true.
I mean, my favorite concern from guests is like, I'm not good at video games. I'm like, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Maybe the audience has come to watch some video games. Ooh, Huggy Beer's redeemed request a factoid.
Ooh.
A factoid.
Yeah.
Oh man. How about you look up your factoids while I start us on NARC, actually?
All right.
Because
That's
it's
good.
time for NARC, ladies and gentlemen.
Ooh, I've got some good factoids.
So those of you not familiar, Ask a Scientist Gaming, we close every single stream with a bargain bin game called NARC. It was something I played as a kid. It started out as a joke where people challenged me to speedrun it, and then I started forcing every single guest to play NARC. And so we have NARC, not only that, but we time every single guest. And so you are competing against your colleagues and how fast you can beat the game NARC. So
Nice.
I gave Marty a bit of a heads up on this, but all right, factoid before we go.
All right, factoid. All right. Neural activity in our brain and throughout our bodies occurs through positively charged sodium and potassium ions and negatively charged chloride ions flowing in and out of our neurons. Sodium and chloride form salt when put together. And so in essence, thinking about evolution, our ancient ancestors found a way to keep the oceans with us as we evolved onto land. We carry around with us the salt water that we used to use or probably needed in the very early days of life. And we keep that in our bodies.
It's a fun, I liked reading that because that's a fun, like, poetic, elegant way to think about it. Like, we're just floating bags of ocean that happen.
That are walking around.
Like,
It's like,
like
I'll just take that with us. Yeah.
all those sodium potassium pumps and signaling and discharging. All right. We're
right.
not here to get all the video game tips and tricks. I mean, if you want NARC video game tips, this is the place to do it.
Yeah.
All right. It's on you. Are you ready?
Okay, I guess. I've never played this before.
It doesn't matter. All right, go ahead.
Start,
and I'll coach you through. But
Okay.
basically, you're going to walk right. There's no advantage in killing people. You just want to go as
And
fast.
do I hit start again? Or
No, it'll go.
All right, and the buttons.
So you're going to go direction pad. If you tap A, it shoots a rocket. If you hold A, it shoots bullets.
Okay.
So hold that button longer. Bullets. If you tap B, you jump. So there's a door. Go through that guy. And go to the right. And you're going to find key cards. So if you tap B, you'll jump. If you hold B, you'll
Oh,
squat.
do I want to go like it?
Nope, keep going right. It'll be really...
And can I die?
You can die, but you have infinite lives, infinite bullets, infinite rockets.
Okay.
You will be winning this game tonight.
Nice.
You will win the war on drugs.
Oh, cool.
If we accomplish nothing else, it'll be that.
Oh, I don't like the dog that's mean because I have a dog who's really
The
sweet.
body is just
Two
the
dogs.
ocean bag to carry our brains on land.
Oh, so am I stuck here or?
No, you go through that door right
Oh,
there.
this one. There we go.
Go to the right. You have the key card. You'll find a card slot that you have to touch and then go.
Not that door.
So
Oh.
you may or may not have bragging rights against Brett after you beat this game.
Oh, why?
See, he has a time on it. I don't know what the number is, but we'll find out.
Okay.
He games quite a bit though.
Oh, so he went through it fairly quickly.
It's there's a boss at the end that makes it a kind of a roll of the dice on how fast people beat this. Oh, can we do a prediction? Huggy Beer, you're right. We haven't done a prediction in a while. I'll do this top one, because those of you that were around earlier, I think you alluded to this answer. Huggy Beer, thank you for keeping me on point. I really underutilize predictions, because mostly we just start drinking and talking and have a roll on it, which makes it fun, but also Marty did all this work writing these predictions.
Yeah.
So let's make the
use
most of it. All right, so the question here is... So the question here, and I'll expand upon it, percent of college students who thought about suicide within the entirety of their lifetime, right? At some point in their life, what percent of college students have thought about suicide? And this is like an actual serious thought, not just a like intrusive thoughts, I'm going to jump over this edge, but actually like
thought about
don't want to live anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what percent? Is it greater than 50% or less than 50%?
How do I get through this?
So you're gonna have to. Sorry, I'm paying attention. You're gonna shoot the guys wearing black with bullets. So hold the shoot button. So kill those brown guys. You need one of these guys in black to drop a card, and it's kind of a random thing. But shoot the guy in black with a bullet. One of them will eventually drop a card. You want to be somewhere close to this door.
Oh, is that a card?
That's a bomb. So if you hold both buttons, you can shoot the dog. Sorry, you're shooting dogs tonight, but it's okay. It only turns into puppies.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
Then they run away. So bullets. So he drops something. You'll see it. It'll be a blue card. So go up. There you go. That card right there.
And do I pick it up?
Yep.
Or?
Just walk over it. Slot. Go through the door.
Nice.
Perfect. All right, so the prediction's up. You guys have about 20 seconds left. Percent of college students who thought about suicide at some point during their life, and this is a serious contemplative thought, not just a passing thing where they actually think about suicide. What percent of college students? This is millions of people. Is it greater than 50% or is it less than 50%? Put your predictions in there now. Click the predict button. Even if you bet 10.
And this was based on a study that we surveyed over 25,000 students across the country.
That is a non-trivial set of data. That is impressive. All right, so the audience is split on this one. Half said less than 50%, and half said greater than 50%, and the answer is...
Should I say it?
Yep.
Greater than 50%, about 54%.
Wow. So over half of college students have thought about suicide.
Yep.
So has this metric changed over time, or is this a pretty steady number?
That's a good question. I haven't seen another study like it that asked that question. The rates of suicidal thinking have gone up in recent years generally, so I would think the number's higher.
Wow.
Now, especially among youth.
So you can walk below or jump over those.
Okay. And avoid those things.
Yep. Those are mines on the road, because this is the war on drugs, and that's what happens.
Yeah.
I need to have a criminologist on to play some NARC. Ooh, Laz has a fun question. Fun is not the word, I apologize for using that, but an interesting one. Is there a correlation between GPA and student with suicidal thinking? Is there a performance aspect to suicidal thoughts?
I don't know the answer to that.
That is interesting.
How do I jump?
Tap B.
Oh, wait, I think I pushed play by...
Oh, yeah, press start again.
Okay.
Okay, now tap the B button. It's like a 7-frame tap will get you in there. Yep.
So correlation between GPA and students with suicidal thinking, with the thought that maybe students who have higher GPAs maybe have a lot of pressure, and students with lower GPAs maybe are feeling like they're not belonging or succeeding. Perhaps.
Man, what would be your guess on that? What would be your prediction? You think it would correlate on those, the high stress as well as the low performing?
I think that people with higher GPAs probably, I'm not sure that would be as related. There would be a set of people who are compulsive about it, about their high GPA, and that's causing them distress, and maybe they feel like they have to be perfect. So there'd be that group of people. But generally, I would think it would be generally protective to be doing well in school. And that lower GPA would give feelings of like worthlessness. When I think about what tends to be tied to thoughts of suicide, feelings of hopelessness, worthlessness.
I see.
I don't belong here. I can't. Nothing will get better. High GPA, you've got options, maybe, or you would see it. So there'd be a subset of people who would feel compulsive about it and trapped in the I have to be perfect, maybe. Can I get in this car?
Yep. So if you tap B, you'll jump. You'll want to ride at the bottom of the screen. It's for a while. Yep, you were in it.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh, cool.
So you're going to run into bombs because you haven't memorized this path. But next time,
Okay. Next time I won't do it. As you said it, I tried to get out of the way. I knew they were coming.
Yeah. It's going to be Archon and NARC. You're going to be expert.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe be halfway through Tears of the Kingdom.
Yes, exactly.
Man, that's intriguing. I guess the root cause is a pretty good grasp on what the trends in suicidal thinking and the root things that lead to that. And you're extrapolating how GPA would apply to that, which is intriguing. I mean, how hard is it to get that data set? I mean, of your survey of 25,000, that was a self-reported study. So stay on the bottom and you'll go all the way to the end.
And no bombs.
No bombs on this one.
Okay. And I'm going to beat Brett.
This was a maybe. So GPA wasn't part of that study or part of that question?
I don't think it was part of that study. Yeah.
That's interesting.
I don't think it was part of that study. So I don't know. That's a good question. I'm going to try to find that out.
Yeah.
What the correlation is.
Yeah, that'll be my follow-up next time you're on. Did anything from the previous stream manifest as like an actual testable hypothesis? That's one of the reasons I do love this stream is some of the naive questions or the ones we don't even think about are just some of the most important ones to answer.
Well, we're launching a study this summer at FSU with undergraduate students, and we do ask...
Going through that door.
This one?
Yep, and you'll go this way and you'll find a blue key.
Do I have to
pick it up?
Kill someone to get it?
No.
So we're launching a study...
White key. So you're going to go through this door, but don't press up too much or you'll go back in it. So go up just enough to get through, and then stop pressing up. Go left. There's the key card. Most people go through that door again, so you just
and then
say
through this door.
15 seconds. Yep.
Nice. So we're launching a study this summer where we do ask students if suicidal thoughts are part of what's troubling them, and we will also ask their GPA. So we could know the answer by the end of the summer, at least for the sample of FSU students.
That's really cool. I mean, a follow-up on that, like how reflective are, so you're going to go left when you get through the door.
There we go.
You're going to shoot these Rambo-looking guys with bullets. So rockets won't do it, you have to do bullets, but add close range. So you don't want to shoot them till they're near you. It's really stupid. It's going to drop a green card. Shoot the Rambo-looking guys. There you go. Green card. An explosive marijuana. Yeah, as one does. Well, the Huggy Bear had a follow-up on your 50%, your percent of college students with suicidal thoughts. Did you do this study? Is there a theme of why? And that was your study, right? That was,
yeah.
Yeah. And it is. Was there a particular question you were asking as you went into that study?
Yeah. So that study, that was from a couple years ago. And it was run by the National Consortium of Counseling Centers.
Nice. It was pocket of the car. Okay.
It was a collaboration of counseling centers across the country that helped facilitate that study. And then a theme of why people were thinking about suicide. When we asked them about stressors, the people who were most vulnerable to suicide were those left.
Right.
Those most vulnerable were people who had kind of going a little bit back as I try to remember the exact details, but people who had been discriminated against, people who had trauma, people who identified as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or trans, all had higher. They were more likely to endorse having suicidal thoughts with their stress. One of the outcomes of the study we found was that if you look at heterosexual, cisgendered people that identify heterosexual, cisgender, so they identify with the gender, their biological gender, they had one level of suicidal thoughts. If they had, if they were identified as lesbian, gay, or bisexual, that popped up like 4%, four times higher. And then if they identified as transgender, it went up way higher. I think 30% of the sample who identified as transgender also endorsed suicidal thinking. They also endorsed being more likely to have experienced trauma. So I think some of the themes of why are discrimination, trauma, not being accepted for who we are or how we identify.
So that'll be interesting, this next study, because that is only going to be amplified in Florida, presumably, given political, social climate. All right, so you're going to want to shoot all these dogs, either with a rocket or bullets. If you hold both buttons, you can squat. Shoot all the dogs away.
Well, I like that they turn into puppies, I guess.
Yeah, so you're going to shoot, there's going to be a guy with a wheelchair that appears. That's Mr. Big, he's the drug dealing boss, and you have to shoot him with a rocket. So tapping A.
Oh, tap A?
Yep. Yep, there you go. So you have to shoot him. I didn't warn you that you were going to be shooting dogs and people in wheelchairs.
Oh yeah, do I need to be staying kind of this side?
Yeah, stay in this area, so kill the guys on screen, he'll come back. You're going to want to hit him with a rocket.
Am I firing rockets?
No, a little lighter. Holding it a little, there you go.
Got it.
7 frames, or 1/10 of a second tap.
Come on, Mr. Big. I gotcha.
So shoot those guys. The Zongli Best, thank you for the follow. Thank you for joining us. If you have questions for Marty, he's here for the next 14 minutes. So if you want to know anything about suicide prevention or belonging in college, yeah, ask your questions now. Uh, 30% of trans population seems below 50%. So is there another group even higher to bring the average up? Well, the 30% trans suicide, that's like annually? Or is that lifetime?
Yeah, so it depends whether you're talking about the 50% was anybody having kind of any thoughts of it. With the trans population, it was that might have been, I'm trying to remember, either attempts or more serious thinking.
Yeah, there's a different grade of.
We asked a series of questions and differentiated between ever thought at all about it versus like, did you have a plan or did you think more seriously?
I mean, it's much higher in the trans population than in the normal. As far as I understand the statistics.
Yeah.
I'll give you a good catch on that. The numbers and where they come from. That's worthwhile. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, 13 minutes left. Marty's happy to answer them about, belonging in college, how we deal with stress, how we manage stress as college students. Advice, get sleep. That's one thing that helps pretty much everyone. Getting on a schedule, getting sleep.
Eat well, get help early, ask for help.
So as we're fighting the final boss of NARC, well, second to last boss of NARC, is there like an anti-vax or flat Earth equivalent in your field? Like some I don't know, Bronze Age superstition that people adhere to, or something you would like to dispel?
Maybe one is that people who have thoughts of suicide, there's some people who might say, well, if someone wants to, if they want to kill themselves, shouldn't we just let them? Shouldn't people have the freedom to do that? And I think that would be a thought. That would be a thought that I don't think is. I think it misses the mark a little bit. On the one hand, yes, we want people to have freedom to do what they want with their lives.
A little less, like, don't push it as hard, maybe.
Little like that.
Yeah. Sorry to intervene.
No. But when people are having thoughts of suicide, their thoughts are distorted. They are not always thinking clearly, and also we know that thoughts of suicide come and go. And so if someone's thinking about it today, they might not be thinking about it tomorrow.
Man, I saw a statistic, like, of the people that jump off the Golden Gate Bridge and survive, it's like 70% or something immediately regretted it as soon as they jumped. It's something high like that, right?
Yeah. And there was they did a documentary.
So sorry, I'm going to intervene.
Yeah.
You go to the top of the screen. That's Mr. Big. So you're going to want to maybe run to the right. You're going to get away from him. And what you have to do, you're going to want to stay on the top as much as you can, because that'll keep him from shooting you with his tongues. So tap B, you can jump and get away.
Oh, there we go.
This might be the worst part of the game, but you're at a good pace so far. So you're going to stop, turn back, jump, and shoot a rocket at his hat. So you have to shoot a rocket in the air. So you want to be at the top of the screen, or those tongues are going to... Yes, he shoots tongues at you, because this is what the war on drugs is. Yep. So you'll get a little bit of distance, jump, turn back, and shoot. But sorry, there was a documentary... Suicide. I mentioned the Golden Gate Bridge.
And they interviewed people who had jumped and later regretted it, and I think that was some of their findings that they found. Another thing they found that was interesting was that when they...
So tap B, and then when you're in the air, you'll tap A on the way down. That was very close.
Almost.
Yeah, so maybe don't press it as hard. There you go.
Almost.
Slightly later. Believe it or not, this is the hardest part of the game.
An experience.
Laz, I wonder what happened to Mr. Big's body. I saw he had one at one point in his portrait. So the guy you just fought in the wheelchair was Mr. Big. This guy. And apparently shooting with rockets, you completely eliminated his body, and he got a quick head transplant onto his platform.
Oh, got it.
So, Laz, you're asking the important questions.
Yeah, so they found that when they, for instance, at the Golden Gate Bridge, when they
That's close.
when they put up barriers to the bridge, they thought that they would find people would just go elsewhere in San Francisco to do it, but the rates in San Francisco declined overall. People, when they couldn't, let's see, how come
Wow,
we can't
it was
jump?
the convenience? It was...
Well, it was like a thing to go there and...
oh, I see. I mean, it's like the celebrity, like, suicide trend. Wow.
So this isn't letting me jump. Oh,
Yep.
there we go.
Yep, so just tap them less. The harder you push the button, the slower the...
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about this.
This is really rough.
Yeah. So fun factoid for you, Marty. I'm the former world record holder in this game.
Serious?
So it started out as a joke on stream, and the stream challenged me to speedrun it, and I figured out how to beat this really, really fast. And I held the world record for about a year. and got beat about 4 months ago.
Oh, how fast did you do it?
So I did it in 9 minutes and 7 seconds. And the new world record is 9 minutes and 4 seconds.
Oh,
Exactly.
and you have to decide whether you want.
Yeah. Well, I'll commit at some point. Well, the plan now, so at some point I'm getting a vasectomy and I have about 3 days of chill in the house and play video games. I'll just stream for like 72 hours straight.
There you go.
The record. So hang on, viewers of Ask a Scientist Gaming. Ken's going to be streaming at some point. We'll figure it out.
And you probably have this down, right?
Yeah, no, I've optimized it. The reason I mentioned scientific method is like figuring out the optimum way to do stuff through trial and error. I actually made a graph on how to beat this guy. So yeah, I processed some actual data.
So I just have to hit that hat.
So Laz, follow up on that. Or is it because it was part of their suicide plan? Does it have to be that specific? If the bridge was closed, they would not find an alternative?
It was, well, I don't know if I exactly know. Some of it is that if we can interrupt people's plan, then it gives them time. It gives time for something to happen, either someone to intervene or their thoughts to change. And so maybe they kind of go there and they try and they realize, oh, there's these barriers here. I can't do it. And then they go somewhere else and someone says hi and
That's it.
it's nice to them and they realize.
So a little less tap it lighter. Yeah, it's surprisingly gentle how you have to push the buttons to get the taps. But shout out to NARC for turning 2 buttons into 4 based on how hard you press them. This used to be an arcade game and then they converted it to NES and they needed 4 buttons on a 2-button controller. All right, so there was a question earlier. Huggy Beer, have you done it?
Helping it all, sorry.
No, you have to shoot him in the hat. That's the only thing that opens up the remainder of the sequence. Have you done any work on destigmatizing mental health issues? I'm counting this, so besides this. So Ask a Scientist Gaming, destigmatizing while you fight the giant floating head.
We do a lot of work, and I think there's some evidence that, like, at least at Florida State, some of that is working. Students are coming to the counseling center in higher numbers. So I think there's a feeling that it's not as stigmatized as it used to be. One of the things that we have at Florida State is an Active Minds chapter. I'm the faculty advisor for our Active Minds chapter that's very active on campus. And a lot of what we seek to do is destigmatizing suicide, destigmatizing the help seeking that can come with that. And I think that's part of also letting the research be known that a lot of people think about suicide. A lot of people think about killing themselves. And so if someone is thinking that, it's not what we want and it's not the preference, but it's also not strange because it's a kind of human experience, at least in this day and age. Ooh, I'm struggling with this. Jump.
If you want me to jump in, I can. You get an asterisk next to your time.
Oh, I don't want an asterisk. Yeah.
So turn back, jump. So tap the A a little earlier and a little lighter.
Oh, there it was.
Oh, Huggy Bear said you nearly had it twice while I was gone.
Yeah.
So you're getting very, very close. That was very close, a little earlier on the tap.
Yeah.
All right, so following up on one of our discussions, I guess this is kind of swerving the topic, but there are times when suicide might be deemed acceptable by society, right? Like elderly assisted suicide or like neurodegenerative diseases and things like that. Like in terms of drawing that line, like I'm not going to ask you to do that, but the community has some guidelines on when it might be okay for someone to do assisted suicide in the right circumstance.
Yes, and some states are further ahead in that. Canada also.
Yeah, and Europe
has stronger guidelines.
Yep.
And it runs a range. Some it's people are free to do what they want with their life. Others are try to put like a time limit so that there's a a clear diagnosis that they have
Yeah.
less than 6 months.
Or consulting multiple. Yeah, so you're pressing A a little too long or hard.
Too hard, yeah.
Well, that's closer. I'm sorry, Marty.
No.
The night sound started out so much fun.
I know.
Now you have to close with this. But you're not the only one. All 58 of my previous guests have done this journey.
And I imagine once you get it,
Yeah, it gets easier every time. So when I have return guests, they cut their time in half typically.
Gosh, I was cruising in this game too.
Oh, that was
a little later.
close.
People at home are probably like,
I mean, is this any worse than our previous gameplay? And probably not. There it is. Okay, now you can shoot him in the face with the rocket. No jumping. A couple more times. There you go. Okay, so you're gonna walk in this region and you're gonna turn around and shoot him with bullets.
okay.
So you can't shoot him at the top of the screen. You have to be within this range. And then
Like
turn
here?
around, yep, and just hold it. You're gonna slowly get rid of vertebrae and keep going. And now you're gonna have to move up and down and shoot vertebrae throughout. So when they do the assisted suicide and approved, is there an age threshold?
Trying to think, I was just looking at some of the work coming out of Canada, and they're, I think, I don't want to misstate it, but I have a sense that they were trying to give a lot of flexibility to people as young as even 16,
Wow.
which feels young to me.
Yeah, well, I was going to say the follow-up, and I don't want to put you on the spot. Obviously, this will be on YouTube and, like, on the record, but, like, do you feel like there should be an age threshold? Because your brain doesn't stop developing until, what, 25 to 30, something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at least mid-20s. And also, things can change. So things feel hopeless today. They might not feel hopeless tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And so I would hate to see someone make a decision in the midst of a crisis that they can get out of and maybe would regret later. On the other hand, if someone is in a lot of pain and there's clearly not a lot of hope for that to dissipate, and there's not much time left, then giving people dignity to be able to
I mean, there's some well-documented degenerative diseases, like, here's your timeline, here's what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to draw a line here. I get that. Like, even with Robin Williams, like, to me, I don't know how harsh that sounds, but that makes sense to me. Like, why one might make that decision. So one advice I'll give you, walk away, shoot bullets back, but, like, move up and down while you're shooting. Like, sometimes it changes how it hits him. You are a knight, and I apologize for this. Every minute you spend killing that head is another minute I have to imagine horrifying ways to kill your character next week. You're gonna have a NARC-based Mr. Big.
Oh no!
We'll call it Mr. Gibb.
I know. I'm trying. I was.
Roll a 7.
I was
dropped and jump rocket the head.
Yeah, I know.
I like the way you think. You are a knight.
You are now rolling again at disadvantage for no particular reason except that it took forever for you to kill that.
How high is your tongue defense? Oh man.
Do I need to get the head?
Nope, it's the vertebrae. Oh, there you got one. So your strategy there is working. So get away from him and keep doing that up and down. Turns out my brother is an engineer, and he actually reverse engineered this game. There's a combination of timing when you shoot and XY position when you shoot that matters. And it's just, unless you know that, you are just on your own. All right. I'm going to find a door. There you are. You're a knight. All right. Anyone, if you guys have suggestions on people we should raid, usually we do science-based streamers and things like that. If you have suggestions, please throw them in chat. We are happy to raid them. You are on civil forfeiture the level. which means you get to collect all the gold from the drug dealer, but you're on a speed run, so you don't want to do that. Just go right and find the door. Or collect it. I don't care. It's up to you.
But that doesn't matter.
No. Yeah, exactly. It's time-based gameplay.
Something tells me that time just set me back a little bit.
I think our slowest time is 38 minutes. So
better than that.
you're not bad. So the best time from
Does that mean 32? 31?
Yep, 31:22. So our best time is somewhere in the 17-minute range. That's somebody that's played it multiple times.
Okay.
The slowest is on about 38 minutes. So
All right.
your middle ground.
Not the slowest.
Do you want to know if you beat your colleagues in education?
Yeah.
All right. Let me find stream files.
There were a couple. Jenny, I think.
Yep, Jenny Root was on. All right. Bring up the main scoreboard, ladies and gentlemen. Not fully updated the list. All right, so what are we at? We're at 31:22.
I appreciate the positive support. I wasn't looking at the chat, but now it's like, oh, he nearly had it.
Yeah, you did. Apparently, you were pretty close twice. Mm-hmm. So Brett got it in 21 minutes.
Oh,
so yeah,
that's tough.
Brett's a bit of a gamer. Jenny got it. I assisted her, so she has an asterisk 2709.
Okay.
So yours is a legit 31:22.
All right.
So that puts you in the top 20.
Out of 22, probably.
Yeah. I mean, it's cheating because on stream I got a 10 minutes. So
Yeah.
all right. Well, that's a great place to close the night. Congratulations, you won the War on Drugs. You can put your initials in. You want classic Arcane Steel.
Yeah.
You could write USA or ass or whatever it might be.
I'll do it.
It's great that they talk to you about their experience on the stream, but not about NARC. How dare you? NARC is an amazing game.
Yeah.
All right, so we did a journey tonight. We set a record for the most recent game played with Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. We also played some classics like
Archon.
Archon is the name. Archon, Super Mario Brothers, Donkey Kong, and we closed with NARC. Marty, congratulations. You won the War on Drugs. If we accomplished nothing else tonight, it was to beat NARC for the first time ever.
Yeah.
So everyone, thank you for joining us. If you have suggestions on people you should raid, throw them in chat now. If not, we'll find somebody. Usually there's an education streamer on. Marty, any parting words for the audience?
Thank you all for joining. This was really great. A dream come true to get YouTube gaming. And for anyone out there who knows someone who might need help or needs help themselves, remember that there are resources available at FSU, the Counseling Center, but there's also in the Tallahassee area, you can call 211, the Big Bend helpline for any kind of mental health support.
Yep. And get sleep.
And get sleep and eat well and
use the Career Counseling Center at FSU. It's spectacular.
Definitely.
We learned a lot tonight. So yeah, all of you, anyone struggling, you are not alone. Most of us are struggling at one point or another. In fact, 54% of college students struggle with thoughts of suicide. So you are definitely not alone. So Marty, we think your efforts, especially helping FSU be better at dealing with these circumstances.
Yeah,
so
well, thank you for having me on. It's great.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. Again, Ask a Scientist Gaming every other Wednesday night. In 2 weeks, this will be June 7th. Edward White, who is a recent PhD graduate from the Department of Mathematics at Florida State University. He does mathematical analysis, geometric measure theory, potential theory, rise potentials, and Thomas problem, like doing geometrically solving how many charges you can separate on a surface and things like that. He will be our first mathematician. So mark your calendars for June 7th, or check out our Twitter or Discord or the Twitch about us. We'll have information on the schedule. But as always, it is a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. Stick around. We're going to find some kind of educational streamer. Marty, thank you again for joining me on this unusual endeavor. It's been a pleasure. I've learned a lot. So,
pleasure.
Thanks to all of you for your questions, your comments, your discourse during this exchange. We'll see everyone in 2 weeks.